the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
The got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect just to admit a mistake. We're paying off election.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Coming in as we go as well. Once again, Mr. Stephen Hamilton from Alcon will be joining us here in just a moment as well. Why don't you guys go ahead and take a minute and say good afternoon, let everybody know who you are and that you're here.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Stacey Lennox from Game On, normally on Fridays on WNJC, 5 p.m. drive time right before Yahoo Sports.
This is Lou Esposito of For Whom the Bell Tolls in Office Hours with Dr. Arrington. I am usually Tuesdays at 5 p.m. on Office Hours with Dr. A, who is right here with me. Dr. Arrington?
I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America, too. This is Dr. A, and welcome to CPAC, everybody.
That was that Dr. A, baby, that Dr. Randy Arrington. He be writing them books. You got to take that shotgun out, shoot the lock off your wallet, grab that credit card. What's the name of that book, Doc?
Politics in America, lecture notes of a lunatic professor.
That's good. I love the Sominex way that you try to sell it. All right, this is your book. Yeah, my book is called The Thing by me. Please buy it. It is eminently interesting. We're going to have a very good afternoon panel here as we wrap up CPAC 2016 in the lobby by the ballroom in the Gaylord Hotel down here in that National Harbor, Maryland, stretching through tomorrow, Sunday, what is it, March 6th? Anybody who's still around tonight, try to find the suite number for the Unsustainable Hot Tub Congressman Party with the Vito and Vito Show. That's going to be crazy. Coming up in a few minutes, we have the honor to be bringing you that Mr. Benji Baca. Took a little break coming back into politics, formerly with the Blaze. He's got Dana's wing over him, so he is blessed. He's coming back to tell you why it's important to take breaks and why he got himself back into politics.
And we got Sam Sorbo coming up at 4:30-ish.
Do what now?
Sam Sorbo of the Sam Sorbo Show.
Oh, I was thinking like Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo's wife, as a matter of fact.
Ooh, I'm sticking around, baby.
I know, right?
Well, I just did get some early statewide results from Kansas.
And what were those
results?
Early statewide results from Kansas. 53% of the caucus went for Cruz, 21% for Donald Trump, 14% for Marco Rubio, and 10% for Kasich. So we're
hang on. Back that up a second. What was that number for Trump again?
21 as a second to Cruz, who is currently taking about 53% of the vote.
So wait, Mr. Huge came in second again?
Huge is at 21%. He's so huge. Hey, everybody, you should see. I got my own discount Trump University diploma here at CPAC this week. It's called the certificate.
Is it worth the paper it's printed on?
I don't know. It only cost me $19,990.
What does it say on the back? It says "Made in China and perfect for bum wiping." That's just good.
Yeah. And the official diploma they're giving out there is now called the Certificate of Deception.
Nice.
You know, this is not a safe space because Dr. A is sitting at the table. So wake up, America. I think I've got something to say to you. And here's what I have to say. Miss Stacy, I think JD is incredibly humorous. She doesn't think that. What do you I think he's very funny.
No. She locks me in the crate like the Gimp in Pulp Fiction until the next radio show.
She tries to manage you, control you.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, as if anybody could fix him.
I will tell you something. It's amazing. I'm looking at this Trump University diploma, and, you know, if any American actually thought they had to pay $36,000 just to get themselves screwed, they were looking at the wrong whore.
Nice. You know, I mean, I guess the thing that I have with Trump, you know, I mean, he wasn't. Is it my imagination, or wasn't he supposed to speak here today?
Okay, let me do this, because I was here last year. Stephen was here last year. Jeb Bush came to the convention here at National Harbor, Maryland last year, and JD and I made a good bit of fun of him because he bussed in supporters. I mean, the bus was parked right out the back here. But there was quite an eventful protest of him speaking here at CPAC, full of gads and flags and costumes, and he started speaking and everybody else got up and walked out. Now, he didn't speak on the first day, so obviously he had operatives here understanding that this thing was going to happen. Well, the reason Donald Trump did not come here had to do with, A, he was going to have to answer questions, and B, his operatives here on the ground became aware that he was going to be protested when he showed up. You don't not show up when you're going to be protested. That is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, if anything, you show up just to prove to people that you can handle the fact. I mean, what's he thinking? I'm going to be the commander-in-chief and nobody's ever going to disagree with him?
This is the guy, and I'm going to say it again, who has decided we need to modify the First Amendment so people can stop writing quote-unquote hit pieces. Be they true, be they accurate, be they opinion. So he doesn't like anyone anywhere saying anything contrary to his own narrative or his own opinion for any reason. Certainly nothing negative about him.
Hey, guys, we got a surprise stop by. I believe Kelly Ward is about to sit down at the table with us and have a little bit of a conversation. Kelly Ward is challenging John McCain for his Senate seat in Arizona, and we love her. And we are so happy to have her and her husband, Michael, here. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Lou. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And it was great to have interviewed you before. And it's great to actually meet you.
I know, it's nice to see you face to face.
I know. It was great. It really is.
It's much easier than on the phone.
Yes, it is easier on the phone. And it's just great to see you because I think so much of you. And I'm really supporting your campaign, as you know. And I don't really do that very much on the radio, but you're somebody that I really love and I really believe in. And why don't you tell people why I believe in you so much?
Wow, well, I appreciate that so much. I'm taking on this challenge of trying to unseat an over 3-decade entrenched incumbent previous presidential nominee for the GOP because it's time for a change. 30 years in Washington, D.C., changes a person, and unfortunately it has changed John McCain. If it weren't the case, I wouldn't be taking this on. But, you know, he gets up every 6 years, and he is a campaign conservative. And then he goes back to Washington, D.C., and he decimates conservative ideas and ideals and attacks true conservatives here, there, and everywhere, doesn't utilize his prowess to attack the Democrats and the progressives. Instead, he likes to see himself as a maverick who crosses the aisle and delivers some of our votes to the other guys to pass those progressive big government policies. How many times have you seen him cross the aisle and drag some of their people back to our side?
Way too many.
Yeah. Well, no, he never brings them back our way, but he takes them over there every time. Every time. And so, you know, I think it's time for a change, and people in Arizona are looking for a competent, qualified, capable person who's ready to take the reins and hit the ground running in Washington, D.C. and do the job, to look for common sense ideas that will move this country in the right direction. Of course, I think it needs to take a sharp right turn and then move forward, but we've got to get the right people in place if we want that right turn.
Absolutely, and we want to change the players, and I think that you're one of the new players that we want to see in D.C. for sure. And one thing that people may not know about you is that you are an emergency room doctor.
Yes.
Not a nurse, a doctor, a female doctor. Woo! And not that there aren't lots
No,
of
there
you
are
guys
more
out
now.
there.
Thanks,
There's lots of you out there now.
Thanks to people who paved the way.
But one of your issues has been Obamacare.
Yes,
so tell us what your plan for that is, or what do you want to see happen
Yes,
there?
well, of course, I believe Obamacare must be fully repealed, period. And that includes repealing all of the taxes and all of the regulations that go along with Obamacare, because that alone will save our country billions, if not trillions of dollars. Now, I have proposed a health policy plan, a health plan called the Patient Power Plan. And in that Patient Power Plan, we will put the power of healthcare back where it belongs. We'll take it away from politicians, and we'll take it away from bureaucrats and insurance company executives, and we will put it smack dab in the hands of patients, because we all, as patients, deserve the healthcare that we want and the healthcare that we need, rather than having to settle for what the government is willing to give us. So that has to be done through health savings accounts and catastrophic care coverage for true emergencies, something that you truly use insurance for. Because you know what? When you buy car insurance, you hope not to use it, right? And if you buy life insurance, you hope to heck not to use it, at least not for a really, really long time. But when people get health insurance, suddenly they if they get a mosquito bite or they skin their knee, they're in the emergency department. And so we've got to get that under control so that we have high quality, cost effective, and great access to care. And we can do that through the free market and through competition.
And nobody knows really more about that than an emergency room doctor. So I think that you're uniquely qualified.
Yes, well, I will tell you that I get to see, because, you know, being a policymaker, when I was in the state senate in Arizona, I get to see the effects of the policies that are passed at the national level, at the federal level, and at the state level in action in the emergency room. And I will tell you that I used to say I see the good, the bad, and the ugly of Obamacare and Medicaid expansion. Well, now I've crossed out the good. I see the bad and I see the ugly. An example is the last time that I worked, I saw a girl that was 27 or 28 years old, no chronic medical illnesses, anything like that, but she has been to the ER 30 times. Now, a lot of people say, oh, 30 times. I'm like, and not just 30 times in her life, 30 times since June. And so that goes back to what the president said, you know, that we've got to have people have skin in the game. Well, there are a lot of people with no skin in the healthcare game who are utilizing the most expensive kind of healthcare in the wrong way to get truly excellent health.
And even those of us with insurance who've been to the emergency room know that is the most expensive way to get health care, is to go to the ER.
Yes, it is.
And most of us, if we have insurance, we'll avoid it like the plague because we know that.
Yes. Well, and also, you have to pay the bill. But if you are on the taxpayer type of healthcare welfare, Medicaid, then there is no bill for you to pay.
And I'll take this opportunity to just remind people that this is a local election with national consequences for this reason, because it is you're challenging a 3-decade senator with a ton of power and a ton of sway, and to get a new player in that position, I think would really start to sway the power in Washington. Another thing that we've seen with both the Senate and the House is that they've ceded so much of their power to the executive branch.
Yeah. Well, the executive branch via not just letting the executive run away and do whatever he wants, but also via regulations through the unelected bureaucracies that permeate Washington, D.C. and this entire country. And I'm glad to see Mike Lee starting his Article 1 project, where he is trying to rein that in, because what they do in Congress right now is they pass these sweeping regulations that say, we want clean water, we want clean air. Of course we want that. But then they tell the bureaucrats in different agencies to now go and figure out how to do it, make the rules and the regulations, and then what do bureaucrats do? Bureaucrats make bureaucracy. And so that's why we've got to rein it in and get the power back where it belongs, into the hands of the people via the elected officials.
Absolutely.
Can we let Dr. Ray get in a word edgewise here?
No.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
sure.
let me provide some. Let me provide some background here. Dr. Ray is one that successfully wrangled and lassoed Dr. Ward and Michael, her husband, to appear on the show. She's going to appear on the shows later on in the future for a whole hour. Okay, so I'm the one that did the legwork here. I'm getting ready to do that. I walked up to her in the bold fashion that a naval aviator uses, Told her who I was, Dr.
Still
Randy
haven't heard a
Arrington,
question.
office hours of Dr. A. Would you do an interview? And she kept slowly walking like
Is there a
I was
question
nobody
coming?
until I told her two things. One, I have flown John McCain before, and two, my producer's name is Lou Bell. I love Lou. Just like everybody else, they love you, and I get little respect.
I do love Lou.
That's not true.
You are the Rodney Dangerfield of our station, sir.
I told Dr. Ward and her husband Michael Ward, Dr. Ward, squared, that John McCain is my naval aviator brother, and I love him to death with agape type love. But I have told him, man to man, face to face, looked him in the eye, I said, sir, it is time for you to retire. You have to go and let somebody else come in there with the young blood and conservative values and principles come in there and take over for Arizona and the national implications, actually global implications. And I've told him that. What do you think?
I support term limits. I didn't really have an opinion in the past, before I got into elected office, because I thought the best term limit was at the ballot box, that we'd be able to vote people out. But the people that are in Washington, D.C. right now have stacked the deck against insurgent candidates like me, against outsiders, and made it so that it is very, very difficult for somebody who's not an incumbent to get into Washington, D.C. So that's why we have to have term limits, because, I think 12 years in Washington, D.C. is more than enough time for anyone, and I think that it's time for the next generation to be trained and ready to go, and they will have the energy and the stamina to take the country in the right direction.
I'm going to write an article on term limits, but the problem with term limits at the ballot box is this. 87% of elected members of the House get reelected. 91% of the senators get reelected. You talk to people and they say, I hate Congress, but I love my guy.
I think that's changing, especially in Arizona. It's hard to find a lot of love for Senator McCain, which I feel bad, because he has served his country for a long time. He served his country in the military, and I have all the respect in the world for that. But he hasn't figured out that it's time for him to retire. Now, hopefully we are sending that message to him, and hopefully he will start to feel confident that I can take the reins, and I will not do anything that would not make him and Arizona proud. And so, you never know what could happen between now and May 30th. May 30th is the filing deadline. I'd welcome Senator McCain over to my team. If he wants to come on board, and say, I'm not running, I'd welcome him.
Senator McCain, please join the Ward team.
Join Team Ward.
Come out and retire and endorse Kelly Ward.
Exactly, because I think it would send a strong message that he wants the country to move down the right path.
Enjoy his grandkids,
yes,
and retire and enjoy his grandkids, and let you do the work. Now, one other issue that I want to ask you about before we pass to our next guest, because we have a couple other people that we're going to interview, and I know you have lots of stuff you want to do. You have also come out for Second Amendment.
Of course.
Right. Say a little bit about that, because that's probably something people don't expect from you, but I've heard a lot from you
I've been a
about
huge supporter of our Second Amendment. In the Arizona State Senate, I sponsored the Second Amendment Protection Act every single year that I was there. Of course, it was thwarted by big government Republicans that joined with the Democrats, so that it never was able to get signed into law. They're still trying, though. I passed that torch on to some other legislators. They're trying to get those kind of common sense bills into effect. But I will always stand strong for our Second Amendment and stand against gun control, because we all know that gun control only adversely affects law-abiding gun owners. The criminals are not going to obey any new laws. They don't obey the laws now. Why would they suddenly start to obey new gun control laws? They won't. And so we've got to stand strong in supporting our entire Constitution and Bill of Rights, and especially our Second Amendment.
And Kelly would do the exact same thing in the U.S. Senate.
Exactly right.
Kelly, thank you so much for stopping by on your way to, and say hello, Michael.
Howdy.
And that's Kelly's husband, Michael Ward, who is also a doctor and probably your strongest campaign worker.
Oh yes, he is strong. He does. My mom does. My kids do. My in-laws. Everybody. It really gives me the support that I need to be able to do it.
The state of Arizona loves you.
Exactly. Yeah, they do. They do. It's great. And hey, I hope your listeners will join me at kellyward.com or on Facebook at Kelly Ward for Arizona or on Twitter at Kelly Ward AZ. The important thing is they have to remember it's Kelly with an I, because I care about the people. So join me.
There you go. I like that. And this is a local campaign, a state campaign with national consequences. So everybody remember that. And even if you're not in Arizona and you can't vote for Kelly. You can support her, and you can get out there.
Yeah, my husband says push the donate button. You can push the donate button, but you can also share social media posts. That helps increase my name ID, because I'm going up against a guy with nearly 100% name identification. So I've got to increase mine, and you all can help me do it.
Exactly. So get out there and support Kelly, even if you're not in Arizona. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Dr. A.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to America Off the Rails, the Roundhouse edition, right here live on WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. We are live at CPAC. That was Dr. Kelly Ward, candidate for Senate for Arizona. Hopefully we will get her on again soon. If you're just now tuning in and you've missed it, this segment will be live on K98 Talk tomorrow evening in our normally scheduled time for America Off the Rails at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. So while we're making way for our next guest to get situated, I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors. That would be RebelRoadTactical.com. I'm actually sporting their gear right now at CPAC. Make sure you're checking him out on their website, especially if you are into concealed carry or want a decent holster, because he's a guy that will make you whatever it is that you want. As of right now, we have JD sitting down with us, as well as one Mr. Benjamin Backer, or Benji Backer, I do believe. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you? Good. And for those of you who are familiar with conservative activist politics, that's why you listen to that WNJC 1360 AM, covering that Philadelphia, Southern Jersey, and Northern Delaware. You should be very familiar with Benji Backer. If you are not, I suggest right now you walk downstairs, open the door of your house, walk out into traffic, close your eyes, and stay there. Benji, welcome to the program, baby.
Thank you. Great to be here. Great to be here.
And I'd like to last year we ran into you at CPAC, and for those of you who don't know, basically your profile here at CPAC began about 4 years ago when you were about 14 years old, correct?
Oh, I thought he was 9.
And
Something like that.
He's just 13 now, right?
Right.
Okay.
Benji's he's 18, young looking, but actually when you speak to him, he has wisdom beyond his years. And I'd like you to catch our audience up with what you were doing right up until CPAC 2015, what precipitated the break you took, and why it was so important for you to be back here this week and come back into politics. And don't forget to tell people where they can find you, baby, and how they buy them things.
Sure. So I actually became active when I was 10 years old, and my first CPAC was in 2013. I came here just for fun with some of my friends, and I had the pleasure of being introduced to people such as Dana Lash, Ben Howe, Eric Erickson. Had some great contacts right away. And within a...
Because you were cute.
Hey, it's got to help, right? Within a few weeks, they were helping me with the connections, and I started writing for some great sites like FreedomWorks, and I eventually posted a blog about how my teachers had harassed me in the classroom because of my views, and that's what burst me onto the national scene. I had interviews on Fox News with Dana Lash on the radio, Laura Ingraham on the radio. Had some really cool opportunities there, and that kind of opened up the door for me to a lot of different things. I started speaking across the country at different conventions. I spoke at CPAC the following year. And I started writing for IJ Review and The Blaze, and I continued to be active locally doing campaign work, because for me, it's not just about spreading the message nationally. You need to be active locally and helping out local candidates as well, because that's just as important or more important than the activism on the national level. And then last year, I did not have the opportunity to speak, and then after CPAC, I decided to take a break from politics, like you mentioned. And I did that because of a lot of reasons. I had seen a lot of things through my political time that had frustrated me, and it kept on frustrating me more and more to see organizations use people, politicians use people, and that was frustrating to see, especially as I was just starting to get on the national scene. Additionally, I'm the type of person that likes to work with other people no matter what their opinion, and so I was really frustrated by the divide, not only between the two parties and the two movements, but between the own movement, like the conservative movement splitting up, the liberal movement splitting up. You know, it's split into factions, and now it's even worse than it was then.
And then you add ego to that as well.
Right, and you add ego. And so that was the other problem for me. I have great parents. I have a great support system around me that tells me what's wrong and what's right. And I could tell that I was becoming selfish. I could tell that I was not doing things for the right reasons anymore, and I didn't like that. I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't want to do it for the wrong reasons. So I wanted to take a step back, figure out what my priorities were, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to come back to politics at some point, because I'm going to college next year, and I wasn't really sure. So
So I interviewed you first time. I think it was almost 3 years ago.
Yes, it was
down in Florida at the
county jail.
The county jail. I was in jail, and Benji showed up. It was,
he was volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he brought me a box lunch.
There were box lunches there.
Yeah, there were box lunches there. Absolutely.
That's not even wrong.
So the question I have is, you've seen some other young people that have gone through this, and it seems to change them, seems to stress them out. Maybe they're not quite founded where they think they were, right? And maybe they changed a little bit. What has been that impact on you? What's kept you steady? You seem you definitely seem more mature now. I'll give you that. And
he told us it's the heroin.
Yeah, it is the heroin. It's got to be. But no, how
I told you not to say that on the air.
No, but you've seen that. You've seen that. There's the effect that it's had. So how have you been able to kind of stay, true to your conservative roots and ideologies through that?
So looking back on it, I actually advise people. You look at the case of C.J. Pearson, Jonathan Crone, and others that maybe weren't as well known. They changed their viewpoints over the course of a few years, because if you get active when you're 12 years old, I started when I was 10. You don't really know what you're doing. You want to make a difference, but you don't even really understand yourself.
Right.
I'm 18, and I know I don't fully understand myself still. Mm-hmm. And so when you're active that early, it can be a very dangerous thing. And so I think that the conservative movement needs to realize that putting kids on a pedestal for their movement is a dangerous thing, and it's not something that is very smart for the movement to do. For me, my morals and my beliefs were there, and they are steady, but for a lot of other people, that's not the truth. And a lot of other influences, not just their family, but it can be their friends, their teachers, whatever, can influence their beliefs. And so this is the time where beliefs change constantly. I mean, when you're a teenager, you have so many things that you're going through that you don't know what you believe until basically you get through it. And so if you're starting to get active before you hit the teenage years, I mean, that can be a horrible thing. So for me, I was lucky enough to have a good support system around me and good morals that were developed before I even hit the teenage years. I've had some views that have, changed over the years, but it's not been dramatic. Mm-hmm. I've gotten more far right on some issues and more modern on certain issues, but I'm still a strong conservative.
You used to be nicer to me on Twitter. He used to be nicer to me on Twitter.
All right. You know what? We're going to have to air this out right now. We're going to have to air this out and squash this here at CPAC, all right? Let's get a 40 to put down for the homies' tweets that didn't make it, all right? There is a big showdown right now here between Hammy and Ben. There's a little saltiness, I understand. Was there not?
No, I took it easy. I took it easy on the youngster until he obviously proved himself to be smarter than me, and then I found myself at a distinct disadvantage to an 18-year-old. No, but this is the interesting thing is that this is the kind of the common debate that we have, which is, and we were just talking about this a few minutes ago, within the conservative movement, where we're almost getting super nitpicky between groups of people that, under any other circumstances, we'd be sitting there going, that's the same bag of donuts.
This is everybody right now going, everybody wants to date a supermodel. Oh, no, that one, she was just Miss USA. She wasn't Miss Universe. Everybody, honestly, within the sound of my voice, if you're a Rubio or a Cruz supporter and you want to go to war with each other over the differences in your candidate, and at the same time you're going to go out there and rail against the hand grenade that is Donald Trump that's been rolled into the Republican primary, I want you to honestly, after the show, think long and hard about that. Because I see Cruz and Rubio supporters, not all of them, but I see them sometime, whether it's on social media, even here at CPAC in certain ways. They line up for those. I know Benji hasn't seen West Side Story because he is 14 months old. But there was a movie.
I have seen that.
All right, so there's a Sharks and a Jets lineup almost.
He doesn't know the tunes.
Between the Cruz and Rubio supporters. And I am speaking to you. I've made my point over and over again with Stacey on our show. I do not see that divide. You can have your guy, and you can say, I like this guy a little more than the other, but, for those of you right now who are divvying up jerseys and saying, this one's the best and this one is nothing, I don't see a lot different than what you see on the progressive side.
And this goes back to what I was talking about very early in the campaign, purity tests. What will kill the conservative movement over time is purity tests. So everybody, Gang of 8, 2013, Gang of 8, 2013. So we're going to forgive Donald Trump for the flip-flops he's done for the last 10 years, let alone the last 10 days.
70 years.
Okay.
10 hours.
10 hours? He was coming to CPAC, wasn't coming to CPAC. Right. Yeah, there you go.
There have been so many beautiful Mexicans through my wife's door. I vowed to build a wall.
So, but I mean, we give no room to a Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Rand Paul or somebody who's been in Congress who actually said, well, wait a minute, maybe what I did then wasn't what I should have done, and here's how I'd make it different now. Positions moderate, even when you're 43.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
and we never, like so many people at the beginning of this election, were giving no room to Marco Rubio to modify his position on immigration, and they still don't.
I mean, we were in our 40s, and I found it very interesting before when you said, at my age, I'm at a time in my life where, certain things might change. Outside of your core beliefs, outside of your heart and soul felt core beliefs, for your entire life, Benji. We got more than twice the age on you, and we're going to change and evolve over time. You're going to evolve in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s over things, but it's those core principles and beliefs, and I think that, to my mind, when I see people flailing around out there looking for something to latch onto politically, to my mind, they are most likely people that do not have, like you were saying, that you are so blessed and privileged to have parents who raised you to have these beliefs, and allowed you to do the thinking on your own to embrace them. And, let me ask you a question. As a young guy coming up in the conservative movement.
It's me or Benji?
Of course you, Hammy. So let's talk about the Goldwater election of...
Benji, you talked a little bit. You talked a little bit about why you took a break. Why did you decide to come back this week?
Well, okay, so it's been about a year, and I'm almost...
He met you.
That's right. I met you again.
No. You met him last year, and you left.
Yeah, that's right. I ruined Benji.
I saw him again, and now I'm back. It's crazy how this works.
Crazy.
No, but I'm coming back for a lot of the reasons that I left. The divide. I want to be a positive voice. I want to be a unifying voice for young conservatives because there aren't enough of them. There aren't enough people pushing a unified message. Like you were saying, the Rubio supporters go after Cruz like he's the devil, and vice versa. Right. They should be doing that with Trump, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders.
Thank you.
I would walk over broken glass to vote for either Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz in the general election.
Exactly.
And then JD would lick them bloody feet, baby.
That was a visual we did not need.
That was just gross.
I don't think I've ever heard something like that before.
So, back to Donald Trump for just a second, because everybody keeps saying he's not a career politician. Isn't this the guy that's been running or trying to run for president
since 1988? Yeah.
That is absolutely...
He's a career crony.
Who was the one that made that point that we so agreed? Was it
Andrew?
So Andrew Langer made the point when we had him on the air yesterday. Andrew Langer from the Langer Hour over on the Realm Radio Network. He's also with the Institute for Liberty, and he had an excellent point. And there is enough out there that you can see this. Rush Limbaugh said something about this about a week ago, but it was in a more recent context. Donald Trump has been planning this run probably since the mid or late 1980s. And to my mind, if you look at the breadcrumbs he's left out there for you to, and the tea leaves for you to read, he's basically just been trying to identify the right moment and cycle to get in, because at the end of the day, once everybody realized it wasn't going to be a big promo for The Apprentice and he was actually going to run, Donald Trump's not going to run for office unless he thinks he's got a shot at winning it. And I think that his candidacy to the conservative movement should be a canary in the coal mine. Because when the rest of us conservatives sat here and looked at the field and said it's either going to be Hillary or Bernie, and we had what we were calling the deepest, most substantive bench in maybe 30 years.
He had some great candidates.
And it was Donald Trump who was right about this, and we were wrong. He looked at a field that if he's been looking at for close to 30 years to enter, he stayed out of the other cycles, and in this one he said, I can do this. I can beat these idiots. And, we'd be sitting here in the beginning of this going, are you insane? Do you see the depth in what we have? And we sit here on March 5th with him not even having to come to CPAC. And I think it's a canary in the coal mine to the conservative movement. As a young conservative, how do you see this? Do you see a movement in flux? Do you see a movement in need of blowing up and rebuilding? Or
I think if we nominate Donald Trump, I think that we need to blow up and rebuild, because that's not a conservative.
Can I get an amen? I'm just saying.
Amen, Brother Rick.
He is not a conservative, and we were just talking. You said he's been planning this since the 80s, right? What was he in the 80s? A liberal. He's been planning.
What is he now?
He was a liberal. A liberal now.
Thank you.
He runs as a conservative. But
No. He runs as a Republican.
In quotations.
But he's a populist.
Oh, I completely agree. But what's crazy is that he's been planning this for so long, and he would have ran when he was a liberal, and he's still a liberal, but now he's running now as a quote-unquote Republican, and no one can notice that. They're so ignorant.
It's I think it's because and this goes back to blowing up the movement, because we were just having a conversation before about how important the Constitution is and what the founding documents mean. And I think if you blow up the movement, that separates people who are sitting there and going, you want to know what? I'm sick of this. I just want to win.
Yep.
Hey, man, everybody wants to win. That's why lotto is such a big thing all over the country. Everybody wants to win, baby. You got to be in
the bigger the lotto.
That's right. But I think that people are tired and people are beaten down and people are so disaffected as to what's being sold to them. You have to differentiate now. You have two out-year election cycles in 2010 and 2014, which if you put a label on it was very good for the quote-unquote Tea Party.
Yep.
But it's become hard for people now within the last 6 to 10 years to say, okay, well, which is actually a real good organization and which one is taking donations and actually paying their directors $500,000 a year instead of actually being activists to bring up the right candidates. And I think you see the same thing with candidates. I'll say it right now. You had Adam Kinzinger in Illinois who ran on the Tea Party platform, not that the conservative, and he was the one who got nailed, never going to vote. He spent a ton of money doing his office over like downtown Abbey, and he was one of the first Congress people to endorse Donald Trump for president. So you have these people that said, but I listened to what they said, and we don't lose, and now I just want to win. If you're so tired that you just want to win, do you have the fight to go forward? And I think that goes to your point about blowing up the movement.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that over the course of the next few months, we're going to see what's going to happen with the movement. But I don't want to be part of a movement where Donald Trump is the front runner. And
me neither.
Yeah, he'll never be the front runner of the conservative movement. I mean, the conservative movement's where it is right now because they refuse to Einstein and get behind their leader. So I don't see it.
That's why he didn't come here.
The other problem is that this election is turning a lot of young people away from the conservative and Republican movement because
thank you.
As a young person who goes to a conservative high school, I see my friends who are conservative and my friends who are liberal who are like, wow, that's what the Republican Party is? And they're ignorant. They don't know very much about politics, but that's what they're seeing. They're seeing Donald Trump constantly win. Doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter what he does. Doesn't matter what he misses. Doesn't matter what he does. And we're still supporting him. And so they're like, what is the Republican Party? Is that seriously what they are?
And as a mom, I'll just say I have children I've raised with conservative values. They did well in school. They've gotten max scholarships. They all have jobs. They work hard. They've earned their own stuff.
You have two you could set up with, or one. You have one you could set up with Benjamin.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
But literally, had you text them both on primary day in Georgia and say, I've never asked you how you're going to vote because I believe that's personal, right? I mean, they're good kids with good values. If you're going to vote Democrat, Hillary's got a lock on Georgia. If you could please go vote in the Republican primary for someone other than Donald Trump, and here's why. And both of my daughters, because they love their mother, went and voted in the primary and voted on the Republican side for someone other than Donald Trump. And my embarrassment, even with my youngest, who's 15, is that I've raised you this way. I believe a good way to be raised. You work hard, you do well, you know. And the first election you can vote in, this is what the party I've chosen is going to offer you. I'm mortified.
It's the first one for me, too.
Yeah.
And if you're just joining us right now on WNJC 1360, we are proud and privileged to bring to you Benji Backer live here from CPAC 2016 at the Gaylord Hotel down there in National Harbor, Maryland, baby. Counting down the last few hours, we're going to be live on the radio before we go with our political geeks, freaks, and back alley sneaks to have all sorts of after-hours conservative fun. To the point that you guys were just making, I don't know if it's a tinfoil hat thought or a more Machiavellian thought. I think from a consultancy point of view, to Benji's point, about even being in a conservative high school and just having this clown show of a nonsensical traveling carnival, right, that's been going on with him up there talking about his schmeckle and his joint in a presidential debate. You know, if I'm grandma and I get the nomination, And my playbook is all full of identity politics and class warfare anyway. And I was going to use the war on women and misogynists, even if it was Uncle Ben Carson. You know, that no matter who it was, they're going to use the same playbook. And I haven't heard anybody else say this. I actually believe that this might be the first major presidential cycle in maybe 70 or 80 years. I could see if Trump got the nomination, Hillary Clinton saying, because she's not a good debater and she's not a good retail candidate, I could honestly see her saying, I will not debate that man. He doesn't debate. He insults. He's not going to talk about policy. It's a waste of my time. He talks about his anatomy when he's on the stage with other men. What do you think kind of crass things I should expose myself onto a stage? You want to know what? I'm going to run for president of the United States, and those nights when they're having debates, I'm going to let P.T. Barnum go have his clown show, and I'm going to give a speech somewhere and be substantive. And I can't stand that fat piano leg lying thief with an age-ridden about to drop dead husband. I can't. But you want to know something? And yes, it was.
She's right.
I don't care. Everybody says he looks like that because of heart surgery. Ain't no way you messed around your wife that much and you ain't got yourself some AIDS right now. But the whole point is, I couldn't argue with her if she said that. I honestly, at this point, could not argue with her if she said that.
And the scary thing is, even if she ditched every single debate, she'd probably still win.
Yep. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
you know?
Because she would be a much more respectable candidate than one who just throws names around, and that's an easy excuse and a reasonable excuse for somebody not to debate him. I mean, she would be right. That is not a debate.
Right.
And she would just say, I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to debate Donald Trump. He's not true. He's not a true American. He's not a true, and she would easily walk away with the victory. But I think that she would easily walk away with the victory anyways, because there's so many Republicans and conservatives who will not vote for him, and I'm one of them.
Yep, never Trump. Now going back to
you forgot the hashtag. Hashtag
we're on radio. We're on radio.
I know.
Hello. Hello, guy. Were you looking for the camera? That's why we're wearing Rebel Road tactical T-shirts and not suits right now. It's radio.
Speaking of cameras, turn around. Other way.
JD. WNJC, baby. 1360 AM. Serving that Philadelphia, Southern Jersey, Northern Delaware. Not yet. We're getting there. Well, thank you very much. We just here with Benji Backer, Ricky Tiki Tavi, Rick Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, 5 nights a week, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that K98 Talk, all part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network here at WNJC. I got the beautiful Stacy, my radio co-host from Game On, and that Lou Bell, baby, sitting over here with her national security experience, just waiting to go. Dr. A standing back there in the wings, the king of the airways in WNJC, Rick Trader, overseeing it all. Back to the interview with Mr. Backer. Benji, one of the things I'd like you to make the point of what the break did for you and why it was important, because so many people are so dispirited. One of the first things I said when we ran into each other at that event the other night is, I'm glad you took a break, man. And I think if this happens to you again, you should take another break. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here right now.
No, I wouldn't.
And you wouldn't be this passionate.
Right.
So if you could just give the audience a little, nothing too deep, but a little personal flavor of, hey, man, I needed it, I took it, and it was a good idea.
Yep, and that's exactly how I feel. I think everybody in this movement needs to push it really hard, their activism really hard, but with that comes the consequences of feeling burnt out. It's not always easy, and so if you take a step back, that allows you to be so much more motivated when you come back that you're going to make a hell of a lot more difference doing that than if you just stuck with it, push through it. I mean, you're not doing real work then, and you're not enjoying it. And this should be, politics is something that you can enjoy. There's a lot of nasty things in it. But our movement needs to be inspired and motivated, and it can't be that way if people are just faking their way through it. So for me...
So well said.
For me, it was a great way for me to take a step back, look at things from a broad perspective, kind of reevaluate what I was going to do when I get back, and now I have a plan. I have a plan of action, and now I'm ready to get back to work. And so, but if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't be ready to get back to work, and I wouldn't be pushing hard to, help push the conservative message.
Benji Backer just told you, ladies, for every ladies in the audience, whether you're 18 or 80, blind, crippled, or crazy, Benji's the one who said it. Faking it ain't never going to get you nowhere.
No.
I'll have what she's having. What shall we bet, Benji?
This movement is successful because of the grassroots people in the movement who are working hard to elect grassroots candidates. And without people who are inspired and motivated to do that, we can't be the movement with grassroots activists and grassroots messaging.
The other thing that I think is very important, and, we're doing a little bit of this at the table. My take on this, whether it's Michael Loftus, who's doing the Flipside show, whether it was Tim Allen, who just got canceled, whether it's some of the newest shows that are coming up in conservative radio, I honestly believe that conservatives need to get over themselves because funny is funny, and you have to embrace humor and pop culture while you take this political ride, because if you don't, you're going to be like one of the monks with a vow of silence up in a monastery transcribing things, and your little painted quill, and sitting there going crazy with your little bald head and your weird brown hot robe, and you're never going to have any fun, and you take what Benji just said and what he went through in the last year, and the whole time that you've been sitting here, we ran into you, man. It's nothing but smiles between everybody.
Exactly.
We'll talk a little serious politics, but a lot of it is laughing because laughter is general. If we got airdropped into Swaziland right now, we found the great lost tribe, and they have nothing written in it, click, and somebody's got the Coke bottle. The universal language to communicate with them besides math is laughter. It is. It's laughter and humor, because your average human being, unless you're Donald Trump, because of the Mexicans that have been through my wife's door, they want to laugh. They want to have a good time. They want to be inspired. And if you can do that and you can combine substance and you can combine a little knowledge, people will stick around for that. I mean, that's just my opinion.
And no one wants a serious profession where they have to be serious all the time. No one wants to work with something that they're serious all the time. And so if you're not having fun with politics, then you're not going to want to do it.
You should see how I've tortured this poor woman with the fun that I have in politics.
Speaking of fun, I thought we weren't going to mention anything that happens in the room. The robe, the quill, I mean, come on, the painting on the wall.
Oh, well, okay,
what happened in the room stayed in the room.
Maybe because you're from Oklahoma, all right? People in the rest of the world, that's called role-playing, all right? It's very expensive by the hour, so I wish you would stop judging me for
He's
that.
18, stop.
Oh, then he should know now. That's expensive.
No, stop. I'm a mom.
We don't have the bell to ring. What are you writing? What was the last thing you wrote? Where can they find it? What are you passionate about writing right now, specifically within the movement?
Sure. So I just got back into this week, so I haven't even written anything yet. I did write a blog explaining why I'm back into the political movement. I have a website. It's not a great website, but it has some simple information on it. It's BenjiBacker.com.
Spell that.
BenjiBacker.com, and my Twitter is also at Benji Backer. I plan on writing for IG Review and The Blaze, but I'm looking to get involved with CNN, op-ed.
Oh, you were talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about
because
that.
I think CNN has a good group of actually conservatives. They've got Dana Lash, they've got S.E. Cupp. They've got some great voices from the conservative movement, but they don't have anybody that's young, and they don't have anybody from the millennial.
Don't tell Dana and S.E. that.
Oh, they're young, but they're not. I guess S.E. is.
They're not the youths.
Oh my God,
they're not college, high school, or around that age.
Exactly.
You know who is going to be petrified of him over at CNN? Well, you know the Travelocity gnome?
I do.
Okay. Wolf Blitzer looks exactly like the Travelocity gnome.
I haven't thought about that, but he does.
But he does. Okay, and he's always yelling. But you know who Benji would scare the hell out of at CNN? Anderson Cooper. Because Anderson Cooper has been their poster boy and their movie star up there that they can do. But he's a little silver up in the nest. Now we got the new face coming up here. Benji, I like this. I can see... the hell with AC360. I want to see BB180. Now that's going to be the new CNN show.
There's nothing more creepy than when I go to a political conference and people call me BB. Because hey BB, and there's these old men who think that
you
BB...
just got called creepy.
I didn't call him BB when we met him. That was here for this...
It was an example. It was an example.
Wait, I mean, come on.
You should turn around and talk in Yiddish and tell him you're Netanyahu.
He just said you called it BB180. He said BB creepy.
BB, how you doing? People I am protecting, Palestine noble. Oh my God, that's his nickname. We're going to work out a whole BB Netanyahu.
He just said it's creepy. He doesn't like it.
I guess I'm going to need to get used to it.
Okay, so when did we ever deny that JD was creepy? Just on the record?
Sure, we never denied.
I mean, JD denies it all the time.
It's in the contract. I'm not allowed to broadcast unless I'm creepy.
But I'm really excited to try to spread the spread my conservative message to the people that maybe don't have a voice, don't have, there's so many people who are young who have the beliefs that I do, and the beliefs that a lot of people here at CPAC do, the young people that are here, but they're not willing to shout it out because they don't know how to. They don't have anybody to really lead them through it, and there aren't enough young people who are speaking out in the movement, partly because of people like C.J. Pearson and Jonathan Cronin who've ruined it for young conservatives. But the problem is I think that you can't start that young. You've got to start, late high school, early college, and then you can relate to the people who are in high school and college and start to inspire them to get active, and I hopefully will be able to do that.
See, my take on it with C.J. Pearson and somebody like you, if you came out like C.J. did and he's on, with the age, if you're an adult, I mean, to my age with the young guys coming up, if they change their mind and whatever, you leave them alone and you let them grow. You don't give them vile hate on social media. But I do think that when they have things to offer, I think that you get behind it. That's just my take on it. And I think that's, the conservative movement needs a little more class and a lot less jackass, in my opinion.
I think I do agree with that to a point. But, when they thrust themselves into an adult world, C.J. Pearson thrusted himself into an adult world, so he needs to be treated as such, I believe. And I was treated as such as a young kid. I didn't like it, but it got me prepared for political things to this day. And I think if people like that want to be in politics, if they want to be that young and active, they need to be held to the same standard, even though they're at a different age, as other people in the movement. And I think that he, some people were too hard on him, but I think that he does need to see the criticism. Otherwise, he's never going to learn from his mistakes. And so, for me, I learned from a lot of different things that I said or did that I was criticized on. And a lot of people are like, oh, don't attack this kid. And, at that point, I was like, yeah, I agree with you. Don't attack on me. But it taught me a lot. And so I think that there's something to be said there about, holding them accountable.
4 years into it, having taken a break and coming back with everything you've accomplished, having written at the Blaze, having to get back with, with Dana and those people, what do you think has been your biggest misstep and mistake in the 4 years you've been doing this?
I think it was starting so early, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Because I did start when I was 10 or 12, and I had a somewhat different belief system, and I didn't really know what I was doing. My parents were never active, so I didn't really have, somebody giving me constant guidance because my parents didn't know what to say or do about political things. They supported me 100%, but they weren't like, Benji, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm not saying you have to have somebody like that, but they had no political experience. So I think it was probably getting active so young because it's tough to stay on the same track. And, I associated with people that don't necessarily still agree with me to this day. I was speaking at Tea Party rallies. For a while, I was paid by Tea Party Patriots, Tea Party Express, and I was doing some tours with them. And I'm not with them anymore, and I don't necessarily agree with what they do anymore. But that's just because I was so young and I was grasping at anything that was offered to me, and I said yes to way too much. Because I had no experience, and my parents had no experience with that in the past. So, somebody's like, oh, do you want to write for me? Yes. And then somebody else would say, do you want to write for me? A cooler opportunity? I'd say yes. And I was like, shoot, now I have 2 yeses, and I don't know what to do. And so I think it was just so young, you don't really know how to act. And most of all, you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to say no, and I had a problem with that.
That literally, and I mean, we've interviewed Charles C.W. Cook, Judith Miller. I mean, you run down the list. That literally was one of the most insightful answers I think that we've gotten to a question. I mean, that was a really good answer. Having that experience, can you now, you understand, you see how, as much as it is a movement, if you stay in it professionally, it also is a business.
Yes, it's definitely a business, and a lot of people make it their brand. A lot of young people make a brand out of it, or they create an organization that makes a difference. You see a lot of young conservatives creating organizations that are making a huge difference, or they start a chapter of those organizations, and it's definitely a business, and you have to grow yourself, and you have to represent yourself, because if you're going to be a voice of a movement, or if you're going to be part of the movement, you definitely have to represent yourself, and that's what business is about.
Now you have a hip hop clothing line for conservatives coming out called
BB.
No, I just Backers Bits or something like this. We want to thank you very, very much, Benji. Tell everybody right now where they can find you on that social media.
Twitter at Benji Backer, and you can find me on Facebook as well. And I appreciate the interview.
And listen, before we go, we're having everybody out in that audience. Take your shotgun, shoot that lock off your wallet, get that credit card ready. This is not the last you're going to hear. This gentleman, he's going to have so much good product for you to buy. I guarantee it. Thank you you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to America Off the Rails, a Roundhouse edition right here live from CPAC 2016. We are gearing up for our next guest. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphones over to Lou and Dr. Arrington. So at this point, you guys go ahead and take it away.
Hi, we have one of my favorite radio hosts here, Sam Sorbo, and she has the, I think, illustrious distinction of being the wife of Hercules. And that's your mic there. And
look, I'm
yes, and so,
I'm the only one too.
Yeah, the only wife of Hercules.
That's
so
right.
We are so glad to have you. Welcome,
Thank
Sam.
you. I got my certificate from Trump University on the way in, so I am now a graduate of Trump University.
Wonderful,
Very excited.
and it is worth about half of the paper that it's written on.
Worth the paper it's written on.
Yeah,
I need to fill in the name and I need to date it, and then I'll be good
I
to go.
dominated the last interview, so I'm going to let Dr. Arrington say hello to you.
You know, Dr. A needs to work on his social skills because I used to have better pickup lines for girls when I was a naval aviator. I saw her walking towards me, and I stopped her, and I said, you know, I just noticed you're a semi-attractive woman. And I held my hand out.
Like a lead balloon. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, she wasn't sure if she should shake my hand or not. But then I complimented her shoes, and she said, okay, you're okay.
Yeah, she's actually a very attractive woman. But and with a wonderful radio show.
Thank you.
I really love your radio show.
Thank you very much.
And I haven't
Very kind
had
of
the
you.
chance to read your book that you wrote with Kevin, but why don't you pitch that as we get started?
Which book? I didn't write a book with Kevin. He wrote a book called True Strength.
Okay.
I did write chapters. Actually, I wrote chapters in the book, so I suppose, you could say.
Right. Yeah.
So he wrote a book called True Strength, which is details. He nearly died right before we got married. He had 3 strokes, and it took him about 3 years to recover. And then it took several years before my cajoling and my harping and my nagging got him to sit down and write the book of his recovery. Mm-hmm. So it's a book. It's a love story. My chapters, of course, are the best chapters in the book because they're about our relationship.
Of course they are.
But it's a story of overcoming incredible odds. Actually, the medical community didn't give him much hope, and so it's just a story of recovery. It's a great book for people who are in the midst of great trials, or have undergone great trial and need some uplifting message to pull them through.
And that it is on my must-read list.
Oh, good.
Definitely.
Well, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's an audiobook also. We recorded the audiobook, which I'm very proud of.
Probably more likely that I'll listen to
I've started listening to a lot of audiobooks. I enjoy it, and now that the kids are older, I find I'm driving more by myself in the car, which gives me the opportunity to do that.
Right.
And I'm a horrible multitasker. I have to be doing more than one thing. It bugs me if I'm only doing one thing.
It's a female thing. It's something women do.
Yeah. I'm having a tough time because yesterday I sat down to do my show, and somebody came by and spilled milk on my computer and fried my computer. I actually got a little tiny screwdriver today and took it apart to see if I could maybe, fix it.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
And that didn't work.
No.
So
for the 5 listeners that listen to Office Hours with Dr. A, I have several mantra sayings. One of them is "Let freedom ring, God help us." Now, I happen to know that Sam is a conservative woman and she's a Christian woman. And I know that those go together when you're making, political issues. What do you think about that? We need to get back to our Christian roots, or what? How would you comment on that?
Okay, so one of the problems that I have with Trump, and I haven't chosen a candidate, and I don't mean I'm not here to bash Trump, but
we do that
he
a lot.
He comes out and he says he wants to make America great again. And he's been asked, I've seen in interviews, what is it that makes America great? And he cannot, for the life of him, express really, truly what it is that makes America great. And the thing that makes America great is our Judeo-Christian heritage, which gives us our freedom. There is not another ideology in the world that espouses freedom like the Judeo-Christian, like Judeo-Christianity, I should say. Secularism does not espouse freedom.
No.
Islam does not espouse freedom. Did you know that on Wikipedia, do you know what the third largest religion in the world is? Listed as on Wikipedia, secularism. Isn't that interesting?
No way.
It's listed as secularism, atheism, and agnosticism. But there is no tenet of that religion that espouses freedom.
And this is
as we
you
know, freedom engenders capitalism. It informs everything, and that is the engine that drives America.
Absolutely. This is something that you talk about on your show a lot.
Yeah. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're constantly talking about that on your show. So. And it definitely agree with that. And you've done, I have heard you do shows and talk a lot about the difference between Islam and Christianity from that perspective, and have some guests on your show as well that talk about the lack of freedom and in Islam. And Dr. Arrington is fond of using the word Islamo-communism because he believes, and I think you would probably agree with this, that Islam is not so much a religion as it is an ideology.
Sure, it's a totalitarian ideology.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hiding behind the guise of religion because that is useful for them to promote it within the United States because we have this so-called freedom of religion. But when a religion tells you something that is antithetical to the Constitution and antithetical to freedom, I don't know how much honor we can give it.
Liberalism has become a totalitarian ideology and religion combined in the two.
Sure.
Exactly.
I think so. And communism was, if secularism and atheism and agnosticism is the third largest religion in the world, then communism could certainly be considered as much a religion as it is an ideology, because it is based in atheism and agnosticism.
Communism is a political ideology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But one of the tenets of communism is no religion, which is secularism.
Exactly.
And so under communism, you would have to put secularism and that's why one of the first things that the communists do is they outlaw the church.
That's right. They want to become the religion of whatever.
They're the belief system.
Yes, they are the belief system.
Dr. Ray knows a little bit about this subject you were talking about, communism. My doctoral dissertation was on it. Okay,
that's right.
And I'm going to teach Sam something right now. She doesn't already know
you
it.
Think you can teach Sam something?
I'm going to give it a shot. I know she's very, very smart, semi-attractive.
Waiting with bated breath.
Communism only works in two places. It works in the faculty lounge where poorly educated people dream of it, and it works in hell where the condemned already have it.
Yeah.
It only worked in the Soviet Union for 74 years, if you want to call it worked, because they held the population at the brunt end of a gun.
Sure. If you want to call standing in line for one size of underwear working, sure.
Well, and you know, you had to, Stalin, when he did his economic plan, went to the factories and killed every fifth guy on the line. That certainly motivated the other four standing next to them to do a good job. But communism doesn't ever work. And right now, on the universities, because we're going to do a show on this coming in the future, cultural Marxism, and they use this primary weapon in their arsenal, political correctness, which is a bunch of crap. But our students are being inundated with it from kindergarten all the way up. Political correctness, okay? And it's all of this cultural Marxists trying to destroy this nation, trying to make us hate our upbringing, trying to make us hate capitalism, the Constitution, democratic principles, our republic, so that we can fall from that vine and be ripe for a revolution. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of young people. I talk to people everywhere, on planes or what have you, and the young people that I speak to, they often ask me, so what's so bad about socialism? I don't get it. I think socialism's pretty good. I kind of like Bernie. I like the idea of free school, etc. And I say to them, the problem is this: you've been indoctrinated. You have been taught that socialism is grandpa with candy, and that capitalism is the moneybags guy from the Monopoly board with dollar signs in his eyes. And they look at me and they kind of nod and they go, yeah, actually that's sort of what I think about it. And I say, well, they're both wrong, and I can prove it to you. Capitalism. You have everything that you have today. You must thank capitalism for. Socialism provided none of this.
She used the term indoctrinated.
Socialism is Bernie only talks about how to divide the pie. He never talks about how to bake the pie, how to make the pie.
Well put.
It's that simple.
Yeah. She used the term indoctrinated. You like the term brainwashed. I have a term for this as a professor, and some people complain about it. I'm going to say it anyway. These kids, their minds are being stolen from them. Their brains are being, indoctrinated. I call it mind rape. Now, some of my people get mad at me. I know there's a situation where they maybe have been associated with that crime of rape, and it touched a raw nerve. I want it to touch a raw nerve because that's what's happening to our kids today. They're being mind raped.
Well, I think I'll give you a better one.
Yes, ma'am.
Grooming. They're being groomed. Yeah. And do you know about human trafficking grooming?
Yes.
So they take a young girl, and you approach her, and you offer her nice things, and you make friends with her, and you compliment her, and you tell her good things, and you encourage her to do the right thing for a time until you get her friendship, and then you start to take control over her, and then you turn her, and you make her date people and turn tricks, and you groom. And that's what they're doing to our children right now. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a homeschooler, and I advocate for homeschooling. And what we are
You've got three kids.
Three.
Okay.
And what we're doing to our children in our public schools today is an outrage. I call it abuse. I call it child abuse. Because when you lie to a child, you're abusing them.
Yep.
They will grow up, they will get into the real world, and pretty soon they'll realize that life is not fair in the way that they've been taught that life has to be fair.
Another one of my mantras saying is speak the truth and then endure the consequences, and I do it all the time. And
Sam.
I spoke the truth. Well, okay, I was teasing her. She's not semi-attractive. For you out there listening, she's not semi-attractive. She's very intelligent. Beautiful woman, okay? And she's smart, very intelligent. I like that. I like listening to what she has to say. She's educating Dr. A.
I don't listen to people's shows unless they're smart.
Do you listen to my show? Oh, you produce my show. I forgot.
She doesn't have a choice but to listen.
I know,
but there is a mute button.
I don't have a choice, but I do listen to Sam's show on a regular basis.
When I teach at the universities, I introduce myself, and then I turn around to the board, Sam, and I write this on the board. Truth changes. And then I turn around in my class, they look at me like, what's wrong with you? Truth changes because it's subject to human interpretation. Indoctrination, what you just said. And like at one point, 1491, the truth was the earth was flat. We know that's not true, but it was considered the truth then. So that's what's happening right now. The grooming, whatever term, adjective you want to use, to take away our children's minds is happening right now.
I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree. The truth is immutable. The truth doesn't change.
God's truth doesn't change, but truth is subject to human interpretation. If you were alive in 1491, you would have been told that the earth is flat. You probably would have believed that, which was a lie, but they touted it as a truth.
Yes, but she's challenging.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's my point, is they're telling children lies right now. Global warming is a lie.
Absolutely.
And the one thing, the one truth that we know is that science changes.
That's the difference
I like
right
that.
there. The truth stays the same, but science changes, and that was science. The earth was flat, but the earth wasn't flat.
What's the difference if I think it's true? In my mind, it's the truth. That's what Goebbels taught the Nazis. If you say a lie over and over again, then they suddenly believe it to be the truth.
And I think I remember you saying, you having a global warming expert on your show and actually saying that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do tend to repeat myself. Because the truth
really
doesn't
good.
change.
No, but science does. The truth doesn't change, but science does.
Right,
absolutely.
Dr. A just got owned right here on radio.
I know.
No.
Sam Zorbo owns you,
It's
Dr.
semantics. It's semantics.
Well, it is kind
It
of,
is.
but it was a really, really, really good point. It's the truth doesn't change.
It's dangerous to say the truth changes. Yeah. It's a dangerous proposition.
In people's minds, the truth
Goethe
changes.
Goethe said the truth is a very narrow path. Stupidity, a never-ending
And don't
jungle.
you love it when your younger siblings actually teach you something? And my little sister told me is truth is truth.
Truth is truth.
Truth is truth.
Yes.
It always is. It always will be. And it's recognizable. If you look hard enough, you think hard enough, you know the truth when you see it.
Something that we all should do when we're on the air is what I try to do with my students is I don't want to put my brain into their heads. What I want to make them do is to think and use the analytical part of their brain that, very few people want to use because it requires work. I want them to think. I want them to be exposed to the truth despite what they've been told by the lefties,
right,
and then come to their own decision. How are we going to reach more people? Is it one person at a time, Sam, that we can reach?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's really the only way to do it. It's very difficult to reach a whole group of people because of exactly your point is that for a lot of people the truth is personal. It's sort of their personal interpretation. It's difficult to get across to people, and people don't want to change. They don't want to modify their interpretation of things.
Despite what the air boss said, she just agreed with me in a roundabout. Would you agree with that? She just agreed with me. So that's what she said.
I think you agreed with her, but
yeah, I'm gonna have to say I think it was more the other way around.
But you know what?
I'm gonna have to start listening to the Sam Sorbo show.
That's my own personal truth is that you agreed with her.
You did say truth is relative and it changes, so
Yeah.
Truth changes, folks. Trust me in this one subject. Trust Dr. A in this one subject. Right. You know what? I want to thank Sam for being so gracious to sit down with us and put up with my abuse.
Thank you for having me.
She wanted to go listen to Beck, I think.
Beck's starting in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Before you go, why don't you go ahead and, just in case you've got folks that may be hearing you for the first time, tell them where they can interact with you, where your show is, all that fun stuff.
So go to samsorbo.com, or you can download the app for The Sam Sorbo Show, and it is called The Sam Sorbo Show. I air 9 to noon weekdays, 9 to noon Eastern, every day, 5 days a week. And samsorbo.com, and you can follow me on Facebook at the official Sam Sorbo Facebook page and on Twitter at The Sam Sorbo Show.
And I highly recommend it. Definitely.
Me too. I do too.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorites, and it actually might be my favorite.
Aw,
thank you very much for sitting down with us, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Never met you before, so it was an honor.
Lovely to meet you too.
Nice to meet you as well.
I acted like a total fangirl when he told me that. Oh, I've got Sam Sorbo. I said,
it's awesome. The doctor is in.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming by, Sam.
All right, folks, you are listening to America Off the Rails, the Roundhouse edition right here at CPAC 2016. We have Mr. Stephen Hamilton, who just came back from the straw poll results. He's going to go ahead and share those with us right now, live on the air.
They had a huge build-up, so this is cool. We just completed the straw poll. They had the huge build-up. We actually went through it in reverse. I don't know, as media, we actually weren't able to take the straw poll.
No.
But I was able to see some of the Senate. They asked a lot of different questions, not just, who you're voting for president, but obviously they asked a lot of questions about what was most important to you, economics, et cetera, et cetera. But I will go ahead and start it in reverse here. And for those of you that are wondering, the straw poll this year was won by none other than Ted Cruz.
Woohoo!
40%.
Oh, nice.
40%.
Yeah, you got 40% of the vote. Rubio came in second at 30, and Trump came in third at 15.
This is what happens when you don't show up at CPAC,
yeah.
folks.
Now, by the way, so if we want to put this in
perspective, was done before they knew he wasn't going to show up.
A lot of it was done. Obviously, this has been going on for several days.
Sure enough, I kind of forgot about that, so never mind.
Yep, and something else.
I sit corrected.
If you want to see what's going on right now, so you look at Kansas, they've got about 25% of the vote in right this second, and Cruz is nearing the 50% mark in Kansas today.
See, I called it because I told everybody that up until now, all the primaries that Trump's been winning have been open.
Right.
So there have been people crossing the Democratic line over to Republican to shift his numbers.
Correlates very closely too in some states.
And now that he's going into the closed primaries, he's getting things handed to him in an order he didn't expect.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why, and I was here, folks. I was here for the watch party. This was an anti-Trump environment from the jump, from the minute I sat down, and he knew it. He had folks on the ground, and instead of coming in and doing what a leader would do and trying to turn the crowd, he turned tail and ran. Now, you tell me how somebody like that is supposed to be able to run the country. Anyway, enough with my editorializing back here.
It's viable.
That's what we're here for.
We're conservatives here. We're not half Democrats deciding we're going to vote in a Republican primary. A couple of other questions that they asked. What would be a deal breaker for you? This was kind of interesting. The actual 38% said expanding Medicaid to basically backfill Obamacare, which was pretty interesting. A few more results there. That was kind of the biggest one on that one. Let's see. What else did they have? A couple more interesting. Most important issue for president, right? What's your... I'm sorry, I'm using my phone and I'm screwing it up. What's the most important economic issues were the primary ones here? And to just give you guys an idea of what was on the survey, it was economic, national security, restoring humanity, humility.
Economics came in over national security?
Actually, economics came in at 49%, national security at 26%.
So despite what Trump likes to tell everybody, not everybody's supporting his wall, obviously.
Well, and there's an interesting aspect of this is that was one of the questions, I believe, that was one of the questions you could answer more than one on. So what it is everybody answered, obviously, economics, and then people probably answered one of the other ones as well, right?
The economy stupid?
Yeah, it's the economy stupid.
We're also showing Cruz at about almost 50% in Maine and Trump at 35%.
Okay, now I have come to CPAC for, let's see, this is my fourth CPAC I've been to in the last 5 years.
Is this the first time one of the polls hasn't won it?
Well, and I was about to comment on that. So there was a very interesting dynamic because one of the questions on there was, what would you consider yourself, conservative, libertarian? What did I say? It was a classic Reagan conservative, a libertarian conservative, or a populist conservative. This year, 66% answered a classic Reagan conservative. Now, I've been coming to CPAC a long time, okay? That has not been...
It's about double, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about double what it has been in time past. Now, I think that this is not some death nail. You can't take CPAC and say this is death nail in the coffin to libertarians, the libertarian movement. I think the libertarian movement certainly had its place in saying, bring visibility to big government GOP, non-conservative GOP, and have driven that a little bit. I think it's kind of starting to mellow out more than anything. Is probably a better way to look at it. Say that's now, the big splash of libertarianism, the big splash of the Tea Party, things like that. Now they're kind of mellowing out, and people are going, well, that's basically what I am. I'm basically this Reagan conservative. I have some libertarian leanings. I have some Tea Party ideals and things like that, and we're finding this kind of middle layer here that I think is where Cruz is being empowered by. People are looking back to character a bit more, looking back to moral foundations a bit more, back to still limited government, but with some version of reality to back that up.
Now, go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I was going to say, I actually have a thought to that. I think that honestly, especially since this is one of the first times we've seen that shift, I think it's one of the few things that we might actually be able to credit Trump with, because I think he has shocked the base so drastically that they realized that they are nowhere near going to relate to that guy. And when they look back, the closest relation point anybody has is really Reagan. How close am I to the beliefs that Reagan had? I personally, Reagan, yes, I'm young. I'm about to be 43. But Reagan was a hero of mine. I remember sitting in a second-grade classroom watching on TV the day that he was shot. From that moment, that man was a hero of mine.
So, and I think it's to that point also, I think it's a lot about education. I think that Trump is forcing people to educate themselves about what conservative values are, and looking at Reagan as that standard bearer of conservative values, and knowing that, or learning that, his most famous statement ever was, the scariest words in the English language are, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help. Mm-hmm. Right?
I got a great analogy. When Hammy was speaking, this is what it made me think of. And, the best theories are the ones that are down to the bottom level so everybody can understand it. When he was speaking, it was almost, I was saying to myself, it's almost like I broke up with my girlfriend for whatever reason, and I went to another girlfriend or two. And then suddenly after a while, it's like, I don't like what I have here. I want to go back to what I did have. I like the last girlfriend I had, last values, last set of principles, and that's what's happening right now. Right. And I think Trump is sort of accelerating that. He has wrested the control of the party, the Republican Party, away from the members that are elected, the organization, the leadership, and given control to the grassroots Republicans. Now they're free to go in whichever direction they want to. They sort of were gravitating towards Trump because of all the populist emotion, but now they're saying, wait a minute, I don't want to continue that. He's no different than the guy that's the Islamo-communists in the White House right now. I've got to go back to the Reagan principles, that last girlfriend I had, and who is that candidate? That's Ted Cruz.
And the last best girlfriend that we had was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, absolutely.
She was the best girlfriend ever.
Can I say something? On Tuesday when I voted, right before we came out here, what was it? Yeah, it was Tuesday. There's a local radio station that I listen to almost every single day. On the drive home, there was a segment for almost an hour. He took caller after caller after caller. And up until that moment, everybody thought Trump was going to win Oklahoma. He took 10 callers. I mean, this is regular terrestrial radio, so you're talking basically 25 minutes of talking, 20 minutes of commercials, 5 minutes of other stuff, and then 15 minutes of whatever else they want to throw in the middle. But for the time that he was actually on the air taking the callers, he took 10 callers. 9 of them voted for Cruz. 1 of them voted for Rubio. Out of 10 callers, nobody that he talked to voted for Trump. Not only that, but 7 out of the 9 people that he listened to used almost the exact same phrasing. Since 1998, I have felt like I've had to hold my nose and pull for whoever was the nominee. Right. This was the first time since that time that I have been able to pull the lever for someone and actually believe that they believe the way that I do.
Yeah, and those were Cruz supporters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rick Robinson, who I call the air boss, hit on something also in the electoral dynamic. A lot of these states that Mr. Trump has won have been crossover states where you could go in and be a Democrat, register and vote for whoever you want. I think the Democrats would like to have, if she wins, Mrs. Clinton run against Mr. Trump. They are afraid of running against Cruz because I think they realize that would be a landslide victory for the Republicans.
It's a disaster for the Republican Party, and I think that they realize it very, very clearly. I think that he'd be a disaster, and they've seen, what would the commercials be? They'd be about eminent domain. They'd be about him kicking people out of their homes. It would be a disaster for the Republican Party to have him as a candidate. And I think that they know that very well, and I think people are starting to realize it, which is why Kansas now it's 50-24, Cruz over Trump, and in Maine it's 50-35.
But in the beginning, in this whole thing that's been going on for 6 or 7 months, you guys asked me, Dr. A, in your analytical opinion, would you think that Trump has value? And I told you, yes, he does. I said, I don't think he's eventually going to win the nomination. I think what his value is that he forces all the other candidates on both sides, Democrat or Republican, of the political continuum, to actually answer questions that they'd rather not answer because they'd rather just give vague responses. He's actually forcing them to answer these questions. Yes, some of it is Barnum and Bailey circus. I understand that, but he does have value in this campaign. I don't think he's going to win the nomination. I think it's eventually going to be Cruz.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news right here on WNJC 1360 AM, live from CPAC. We have it in from Decision Desk AQ. They have just called Kansas for Cruz, and from so yet again,
winners take all states.
Only if you're over 50. Only if you get a greater than 50%.
50 plus 1.
I'm showing him at 50.
So he's somewhere around there. So you got to get 50.1, and it's a winner take all. Otherwise, if you look at Texas as well, the breakdown there ended up really going in his favor big time. He ended up taking 99 plus. There were still 20 floating around someplace. I think you are seeing a turn here. You're seeing a definite. I think seriousness. I said this a couple of months ago. I said, you're going to see people that get excited about Trump. They think this is the greatest thing. It's the big shakeup, just as Randy was saying a minute ago. Eventually, people wake up though, and they go, "Oh, enough of that." We've heard that 20 times. Thank you for saying huge. Thank you for everything else. That's great. The shock factor's gone. Now I'm really thinking of settling down and saying, okay, who am I going to go with here? Who am I really going to trust to run this country? Who's going to represent the conservative ideas?
Some of it was he said some scary stuff in the last debate.
He really
literally sat there, and when they started, the last one of the things that stood out to me was when he was standing up there in front of America and TV around the world at this point. And basically, when they called out and said, you're talking about attacking the families of terrorists, and that would not be a legal order. And his only answer is, well, trust me, they'll listen to me.
Hey, can I throw a crazy tinfoil thing out here?
Yeah, but can I throw a JD comment
in sure.
first? Yeah, it's great to date a stripper, but you don't want to marry one.
Here, how often have we sat here and said, how many more things can Trump say before people go, enough is enough. And really, he never has. Every time he says something that's totally outlandish, and all the pundits have said, that's it, he's going to fall off the side, and we can't put Humpty back together again. Humpty does just fine, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're starting to see a slow shift. It's not the, oh, he said this, boom, he's done, he's gone. No, you're starting to see the slow shift away. And I think it's going to continue. But I think it is finally reaching that point where it's no longer cool and, edgy to say something really outlandish. But I've got a question. Okay, here's my tinfoil. Does anybody else here wonder if Trump's just been playing this the entire time and going, what's the wackiest thing I can say to these idiots and they'll still vote for me?
Yes.
He's been off the record from, what was it, the Times, basically stating that was basically exactly what he was doing, is telling everybody he wanted to hear.
How crazy can I get? And these idiots will still elect me.
Yes, I've been thinking that for a long time, actually.
It's kind of like a sushi chef. They're drinking the hot wine and eating the raw fish. I can't believe it.
One of the times I actually noticed that there might have been a shift was when I came up with this crazy idea of taking the "Make America Great Again" hashtag and turning it into "Make America Sane Again," and it actually caught on. I mean, little old me, I've got like 3,000 Twitter followers right now. By the time it was all said and done, it was in like 5 different groups, and it was all over the place. It even got to the point where it will still auto-populate on Twitter once you get past the G, which means at some point it was up there. It never got to the point where it was trending, but it was at least in the algorithm enough that it was starting to be noticed. And there are people around here that have been saying that. Like, when Trump would say something, somebody would yell that out, and I was like, holy crap, that was my idea.
And the John Oliver video, if you haven't seen it, I think is the greatest thing. And he's not a Republican. He's not a conservative. He's actually kind of a lefty, but he made a Trump video, which is dead on, and it's about a 15 or 20-minute video. I think he calls it "Make Trump Drunk Again." And, yeah, and it is fabulous, and I think he probably did. This liberal did the Republican Party the biggest favor that anyone has done by making that video, and it's gone viral.
So here's my game for the rest of the day. I'm going to be watching these. I'm going to split in a few minutes. By the way, I'm going to turn the microphone back over to you, your other excellent host. Actually, your host. I'm just the guest. And head on out. But my thing is to watch. I want to see the impact. This actually seems to be a massive level of momentum for Cruz right this second. I am surprised that it's Trump coming in second and Rubio coming in third, and Rubio coming in third with some really bad numbers. I'm going to be interested to see, can Cruz pass that 50% mark? You get the 50.1, you get all of them. You win, it's the moneymaker.
Yes.
And the other one is Rubio going to wait? If Rubio loses everything today, especially if by any chance Cruz can get past that 50.1, is there a point where Rubio says it's not worth waiting to Florida? Is there a point where the establishment jumps up board and says, Cruz, it's not worth waiting to Florida? You're a man. You're my man, Blue. But you got to get out.
I'll make a prediction, and I actually told Stacey this morning. When Trump starts to lose the states that are closed primaries, that he will withdraw from the race because Trump doesn't do anything that he doesn't believe wholeheartedly that he will win. If he sees himself starting to lose, he's out because he doesn't want to be a loser.
Yep. Right, well, I am going to get out of you guys' hair. Thanks a lot for having me on. Hey, thanks for having me on Friday as well.
It's been a pleasure.
Enjoyed it. And good luck to the rest of you. And Randy, good to see you again.
Yeah, we're going to close out with the three of us are going to close out the show. Thanks, Andy.
Hey, thanks a lot. See you guys later.
All right, so you are listening, folks, to America Off the Rails right here at CPAC 2016 live from WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. We are a proud member of the Conservative Commandos radio network here. Now, I want to do something we hadn't been able to do yet since we do have a lull in the guests for the moment. I just want to let everybody know that at this point, if you are listening, and you're listening by radio or app or computer, or however you listen, if you ever find yourself away from any of those options, you do have another one that we don't always talk about here. You can actually listen by phone by calling 832-999 1199. The shows that are live can go with you anywhere during our 12 to 6 block, and then once that block is over, those shows for the day will repeat over and over and over again until we go live again. So if you miss it or you don't have any other way to catch the podcast, make sure you're using that phone number and just keep calling in until you hear the one you want, because you'll catch it again eventually. All right, so at this point, folks, Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where the newsmakers go to be heard. We are live right here from CPAC 2016 out in Maryland at the Gaylord.
And watching the Decision Desk, in case you're not watching the Decision Desk, we're watching it for you. And Cruz's numbers in Kansas are climbing. And it looks like to me
is he gonna get
he's
there?
getting closer and closer to 50%. So
I'm hoping he gets that 51.
I know, really. He can get over 50%. He can get all of those delegates, and we will all be doing a happy meal.
So since you are listening to radio, I'm sure every once in a while the applause is bleeding over. We are sitting right across from the Potomac A and B area where they have Glenn Beck on stage right now. So the applause does get a little loud from time to time. Don't worry, it's nothing crazy.
The audience is loving Glenn Beck.
Don't they always, though?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think they missed Trump today at all.
No, I really don't think they did.
No, actually, there were some pretty interesting things that happened. Somebody posted a sign, "Dear Mr. Trump, thanks for nothing." Signed Conservatives. Signed Real Conservatives.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it probably had the word real in there somewhere.
Yes, it did. It said signed Real Conservatives, and that was posted somewhere around here at CPAC.
But that's the crazy thing, though. I mean, I know people that at least up until this election cycle, I would have believed were true conservatives. And as soon as he came on the scene, they just sold all of their principles out for a W, and I don't understand that.
I think that it proves that anyone can be fooled by anything, and conservatives included. So I think that they are tired of losing. I think that there's been several elections in the past that, especially 2012. I mean, let's be honest, we really thought that was the Republican election, and I say our, not being an independent, but that was the conservative election.
Why did we lose that election, Lynch?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I don't want to. Go ahead.
Yes. There's always never just one reason, but if you had to pick the most probable cause why we lost that 2012 election, what would it be?
You
squishy.
Well, the last debate they had, Mr. Romney basically backed off of Mr. Obama on Benghazi and the rest of those foreign policy issues. I think his political consultants, who I think should be dragged out in the middle of the street and gunned down like dogs, they gave him bad advice. He should have vehemently attacked Benghazi and the sitting president of the United States. If he had done that, I think he'd be president right now. But he didn't do that. He backed off and he let him off the hook.
Especially on the Cold War foreign policy thing, because that was an open door waiting to be walked through.
Was he right about that? You know he was right about that.
Right about that. And I've said it since then, and I've said it when we were on the air. He should have picked up the phone and taken the freaking call.
Exactly.
If the 80s were calling with their foreign policy back, because right now he could use it.
Exactly.
Right, Rick?
Exactly. And I actually said as much around that same time. Actually, one of my most responded to clips was a deal that I put together shortly after all of this blew up in Obama's face, and I actually pieced together the parts of Russia invading the Ukraine and Sarah Palin saying that Romney was right, and then I put in front of that the bit about Obama making fun of Romney about the 80s foreign policy thing. And I said, look at everything that's happened since then. Romney was right.
And Sarah can see Russia from her house.
Well, I mean, I have to admit, in the last couple of years, I've lost a lot of respect for Miss Palin, but she was at least right in that one aspect when she pointed that out. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to think about, because if you go back to those debates, there were 2 or 3 points where if his campaign strategist would have just been upfront with him, he could have mopped the floor with him between second and third debates, because they caught Obama in at least 2 different lies, if I remember right, and they didn't capitalize on either one of them. And I even remember, even little old me, I shot a note off to the folks that are running the campaign, and I actually got a response. I didn't expect one, but I got one. They told me that they were going to leave those things alone, even though they knew them to be untruths, because they had elected to take the high road.
Well, and I'm ashamed to say that I know one of the communications people that were working on that campaign, and I would never in a million years believe that she would go for that, and she did, and I was really disappointed.
We've just had somebody sit down here at the table, our round table, WNJC, that as a newcomer to radio.
No,
and he doesn't want to even talk. He teaches me.
He's a little worn out.
JD is worn out, but he teaches me about intellectual humor, and I listen to their show. It's Bloody Marys and Broad Sheets, right? Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you got it right.
Before us on K98 on Sunday.
I listen to both of them.
They're at 11 and we're at noon. K98.com. K98talk.org.
There we go.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's confusing.
Okay, know your home station, Lou.
It's not your fault. I have a business partner who can't seem to figure out what he's going to do with the other website. So
we've got a guest that's on his way down right now, and you're going to the listening audience is going to enjoy this. His name is Sergeant Retired Jonathan Lubecki. I met him yesterday, and he started telling me his story, and I just was enthralled. I stopped everything I was doing. I listened to this young man for probably 30 minutes, and then I invited him, if he would grace the show, come down and talk to us about what he's gone through. He Army Sergeant, and he's been to Afghanistan, and I guess we're on fire, in Iraq, and came back with PTSD, which a lot of our young men and women do. And he actually told me that he has gone through some of the therapy, the medication, and he himself tried to commit suicide 3 times. He pulled back his sleeve and showed me the razor marks. I just it took my breath away. And now he has got his own little business where he is a defense counselor and talks to some of these young men and women about this. And we're going to have Dr. Michael Ward on our show probably in a few weeks, and they've got some new treatments for these guys. One of them is hyperbaric oxygen treatments, where they put them in an oxygen chamber. Actually, it's an altitude chamber. They take them down to like 1.5 atmospheres below sea level, and then they give them 100% oxygen. It seems to be working out pretty well, and what we want is to take care of these men. I am a veteran myself, 20 years in the Navy, and I hear these statistics that 22 of these young men and women, the veterans, are dying every day, whether that's from suicide or waiting on the VA list. And I am appalled by that. I don't want that to happen. We need to take care of these young men and women. And sitting down right now with us is Sergeant Jonathan Lubecki, and we're going to have him introduce himself. Jonathan, welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, first off, I want to apologize for being late. I went over to the airbase and got stuck a little bit. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, 95 to 99. Had a blast. Was a load master on C-130s. And got out. I went into the Army after watching the towers fall. And spent 8 years in the Army. Was medically retired in 2009 due to injuries. Served in Iraq 05-06. Came back with a head injury, PTSD, some physical injuries, had a couple back surgeries, stuff like that. Got into politics because I needed a new direction in life after coming back, and one, helping veterans I find very cathartic. It's very good for my mental health, and I've had a lot of mental health issues over the years. And I realized, I kind of got a bill passed by accident, which I know nobody ever says, but it's actually very true in my case. And I realized that, I could help a veteran here and a veteran there, and over my lifetime probably help, 1,000, 1,500 veterans, or I can pass a bill and help hundreds of thousands or millions of veterans. So I started getting involved in politics, lobbying for veterans legislation, writing veterans legislation in North Carolina, South Carolina, up on the Hill. Started working for campaigns, advising candidates on veterans issues, helping craft their veterans message, so that if they got elected, they do the right thing.
So part of what he does, folks, is he actually will train the candidates and the ones that actually get elected on how they can best deal with and maybe pass public policy to help our veterans. And we have veterans that are dying every single day. When I hear these statistics, I pick up the phone, I call my squadron mates. Some of them are admirals in the Pentagon, some of them just recently retired and now working in D.C. for some of the contractors. And I call them and I say, I'm just appalled by this. We're losing our brothers and sisters. And what can we do to stop this? And what Jonathan is doing is helping to educate our political class so that they understand what's going on, and they can then pass the right type of public policy to get these people, these men and women, the help that they deserve and they need. We sent these men and women into combat, and we filled their heads up full of all these different ideas, and when they come back and they have any kind of injury, it's our responsibility as the people, because they are out there protecting our liberty and protecting the longevity of the United States of America as a free country. We have the responsibility, everybody out there, to protect these people from these injuries and to bring them back to a good state of health, no matter how that occurs, whether it's at the VA, which we know is flawed, tremendously flawed. I've been part of the VA myself, or letting them go to any doctor that they wish and have the people pick up the tab. I just mentioned that to a couple of these politicians I've seen walking around here who are eventually going to come on the show with us, but that's something I think we should do. They should be able to go to anybody, and the people pick up the tab.
Oh, I agree completely, and we all know and agree the VA needs a massive overhaul. But one of the things that I like to tell a lot of people is, when you talk about a complete overhaul of a federal department, the last time that happened was the creation of DHS 16 years ago or 15 years ago, and that was a nightmare. So people think it's too big a task to tackle, but here's the thing. You don't have to do it all at once. That would be great if we could. But you can do little changes. There's a lot of little things. I actually heard an amendment introduced on the Senate floor just the other day when I was over at the Russell Office Building that would allow all veterans, regardless of discharge, to receive mental health and substance abuse treatment at the VA, which, That issue right there actually is the reason I got into politics, is wanting to pass that. And I actually had nothing to do with that. When I heard it, I almost broke down in tears in a senator's office. But, because we've got guys that come back with PTSD, TBI, and then they get discharged for misconduct because they get a DUI or they have other issues that are related to PTSD because they're self-medicating. And the problem is they end up getting a general discharge or another non-honorable discharge, and then they don't get any services. So you've got guys that come back with mental health issues, they get kicked out for those mental health issues, and then they don't get the help that they need. As I was telling you yesterday, I've been very public about this. I didn't talk about it for a long time, but I've got a total of 5 suicide attempts. I'm very fortunate that I'm here. And, that's part of the reason I talk about it. Veterans don't talk about it enough. So people just see a number in an article, and it's not real. When a politician looks at someone in the face that says, yeah, on Christmas Eve 2006, after I came back from Iraq, I went to a church and was turned away. I went to a Army hospital and was sent home. And so I sat down with a bottle of vodka and a Beretta 9mm. I drank a bottle of vodka and I chambered around, put the gun to my head, and pulled the trigger. The gun malfunctioned. It's the only reason I'm here. And I don't take lightly that 22 of my brothers and sisters a day aren't as lucky as I was. They were buried under a flag of the country they loved. And they went over knowing, when they got on a plane, whether it be for Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, they knew that they may die. And it was a cost they were willing to accept, but they never realized it'd be by their own hand on U.S. soil far from the battlefield. And I personally find it a national disgrace that we have this going on. And nobody seems to care, except veterans. And I've kind of tried to make it my mission to talk to people. I've met all the candidates. Most of the candidates actually, have taken the time to talk to me. And I'm not really anybody special, especially with high-profile candidates. But I am a veteran, and I do try to leverage that to talk to them. And except for 2, actually, they've all been willing to stop. Some for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, which is fine. Jeb Bush actually sat for 3 hours. Senator Rand Paul put off everything he was doing, put off a press conference and talk to me for 30 minutes. Let
Dr. Ray just set the record straight here. Jonathan is very special to me, and when he told me this story yesterday, it just took me by surprise and grabbed me, where it shouldn't have grabbed me. And I just was listening to him. I said, we got to have this guy on the show. The other thing that you were talking about, and I got to tell you this, maybe don't know this. Politicians don't care about you or me. They don't care about, they want you to think they care about you. All they care about is themselves and their power. Trust me in this, trust Dr. Ray in this one subject. They don't really care. And the bureaucracies, they don't care about you either.
Nope.
You're just a number to them. If they can get something from you, then they care for a limited amount of time. But when you get to the big picture, they don't care about you.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. I've had a lot of politicians that I've talked to that hear my story, and they're like, all right, I want to get involved. I want to help you. And I'm like, don't help me. Help all of us. The fact that I had, that I had the guts to walk up to you and as a politician and tell my story, yeah, you may want to help me, but that doesn't help my brothers and sisters. I was very, very, very fortunate. There's a new treatment for PTSD. It's in clinical trials. I was part of it down in South Carolina. It's 3 treatments, 6 weeks apart.
What's it called?
It's psychotherapy under the influence of MDMA, which is known as ecstasy. And less than 100 veterans have gone through this treatment. And every one of them have had 40 to 60% reduction in all symptoms. For me personally, it's a 50% reduction in symptoms. My suicidal ideology is nearly gone. Going from spending pretty much every moment of every day wanting to die to actually wanting to live is miraculous. And, hopefully it will be. I was actually on the Hill the other day talking to senators about this, hoping that we can try and push for some FDA approval of this treatment. It's not like a lot of the other controversial treatments like medical marijuana where people are worried, that somebody's going to get the meds or whatever. This is done in a clinical setting.
But MDMA is a DEA. It is still Schedule 1, and it is still a DEA classified drug, so it could be
correct.
Really it still could be difficult. So your
DEA,
work on the Hill is going to be very important there.
Well, for whatever reason, this is actually a DEA and FDA approved research study.
Excellent.
That's the path they want to go. One of the big questions, honestly, is do they want to reschedule MDMA, or do they want to carve an exception to the Schedule 1 for one specific treatment?
You're more likely to get the exception, but whichever one works.
Whichever
right?
one works, because it really is miraculous. You saw the crowds here at CPAC. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't gone through the treatments.
That's amazing. That's great.
Last year was my first year at CPAC. I completed the treatments a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, there's 2 people down in Charleston that have spearheaded this research, both here in the U.S. and they've been training people overseas, Michael and Annie Midhoff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look up MDMA, PTSD on Google, that's the names you'll see, and I owe them my life, without question. When I was out in Iowa with Senator Paul's campaign, everything was crazy. It was a week before the caucuses. We were doing 5-6 events a day, all over Iowa and stuff. And between some of the events, I called them and thanked them, because I wouldn't have been doing that. I wouldn't be able to make the difference I'm making if it weren't for that. I think that when they ask us to do what we do, and we go over and we go toe-to-toe with evil, and part of that evil touches our soul, and when we need help taking care of that, they say, yeah, this stuff works, but it's too controversial, when it comes to MDMA.
And that's crap.
It works, but we're worried that somebody else might get a hold of it, which is one of the arguments against medical marijuana, which
crap.
And I'm like, you asked me to go kill people, and you had no moral objection to that, but you have a moral objection to me smoking a joint rather than putting a gun in my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's ludicrous.
It is.
And I'm fortunate, that I got.
But you had to get in and try.
Both did everything you earned by breaking your backs. We're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
I couldn't get it. Hello, America. How you doing? You have found the Loftus Party. That's right, I'm tripping over my tongue already. It's fantastical. What a big week. What a big, big week in politics and pop culture. I'm joined here with my good buddy Jason Anarino. How you doing, Jason?
Pretty good, man.
We're testing out some new equipment. I think it's going very well.
I think it sounds pretty good.
I know. So, fantastic. I want to get the pop culture stuff out of the way.
Okay.
The Oscars. They came. They went. There was a lot of winners.
You called it on Leo.
I did. I knew Leo DiCaprio would win.
Yes.
I almost feel like I had the inside scoop on that one. I had a... Yeah, he's done so many great movies. They had to give him one. But the big movie, The Remnant.
The Revenant.
The Remnant.
The Remnant?
The Revenant?
It's The Revenant.
The Revenant. That was here's my beef with the Oscars. And this is my new thing this week. It's like, what's my beef with this, that, or the other thing? See? And that was a good idea. There was a sound effect for a good idea. How do you give The Revenant best cinematography? How do you give that best director and best actor? Okay? So we love the acting. We loved the way it looked. And we loved the direction of it. However, that's not Best Picture. We're going to give that to something else. They gave it to Spotlight. Spotlight won Best Picture.
I was hoping it would. And I haven't seen it. I just,
I'm just saying, how do you do that math?
I don't know.
This movie, Revenant, definitely the best director. Definitely it had the best actor. Oh, and by far, it looked the best. But as a film, not the best.
Yeah, I was just upset it didn't win Best Sound Mixing.
I know. And they go, that's another thing, a problem I have with it. Best sound, okay, and best sound editing. What is? I know some real technical person's going to give us some.
Michael, the actual thing is that the sound editor is different than the actual sound.
One man has to create the sound, the other man has to say, here's where the sound starts and the sound ends. Actually, that's a very legit point. So I'm going to take that back. That's a very big difference.
I know that's why I was watching.
I thought Chris Rock did horrible.
No, I thought he did okay.
Really? What was the standout joke? What was your favorite joke that Chris did?
The thing about Jada Pinkett Smith was pretty funny, I thought.
I don't even remember that joke.
It was about how he wasn't invited, for her to... Never mind.
That was a great bit.
Yeah, I can't say it on the podcast. We're trying to keep family clean here.
He said it on the Oscars.
He said that Jada Pinkett Smith not coming to the Oscars and protesting is like him protesting, what's the singer's name?
I'm going to need some more information.
Some hot female singer's panties because he wasn't invited.
Oh.
See.
Okay.
But here's...
That's not a bad joke. That's a pretty funny joke. I don't even remember that joke. I remember the Girl Scouts coming out. That was just cringeworthy. That was just cringeworthy.
The whole thing is Hollywood is so out of their mind, hypocritical, and I'm so sick of their Democrat BS. First of all, Chris Rock comes out and lectures me about racism and then does a joke making fun of Asian children. Then you got all these actors.
But that was praising Asian. He was like, look how smart the Asian kids are.
Okay, well, let's have a white guy do a joke about black children and see how that goes over. Ooh. Look how good they dance. Yeah, that'd go over about as good as a joke at a funeral. It's the
Yeah,
same
I don't
thing.
think that would do well.
No, it wouldn't. And here's the other thing. Then you got the actors wearing bracelets for gun control.
I didn't
and they're
see
surrounded,
those. I didn't see those.
They all had anti-gun bracelets.
What
and
did
they're
the
surrounded by
bracelets
people
say?
with they were like black bracelets.
Really? Were they cool looking? Would
I
want
don't
one?
think so. I think they were pretty neutral. But then they're surrounded by teams of people with guns to protect them. Well, I don't have teams of people with guns. I need the Second Amendment.
You know what you should do? You should get a gun to protect yourself.
Yeah, well, I might be a step ahead of you on that. And then there was one more thing that was totally hypocritical.
Always incredibly hypocritical when somebody who's being defended by armed guards tells people, you don't need a gun.
Yeah,
Put that gun away.
Yeah, like you might not need a gun, but I got kids and stuff to protect.
Absolutely. Well, the Oscars, it was a drag. I think it should just be what it is. It's just a celebration of movies, and we think this is wonderful, and we think that's wonderful, but stop with the politics.
And then DiCaprio with the, global warming is going to kill us. Now I'm going to go take a trip on my yacht and my private jet, which burns fossil fuels like never seen.
Everybody always does that. People give Harrison Ford grief because he's like, I think climate change is real, and I think we should do something, and he has a private plane.
Well, then fly coach. Fly on a commercial flight.
Nah, I'm rich.
Okay, then you don't care about the environment.
I'm not a big Well, listen, I gotta get to France, dude. I gotta get to France. I got a great place over there, and I can't wait for Eastern Airlines or whatever, American Airlines, to pick me up. I have my own plane. I like to fly. My bad.
Well then,
that's really
it's
what
all
it is.
hypocritical. It was the most hypocritical awards show I've ever seen in my life.
I think actors should just stay out of politics. I really do.
What?
I mean, there shouldn't be a law. I mean, if you want to say, I'm for freedom of speech. If some actor wants to say, blah, 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 go ahead. But, nobody should, listen to that.
Well,
and
but
it's just
if you're going
a person.
If you're going to preach this stuff, you have to practice it. Don't say, don't do as I do as I say. Global warming's bad, and I'm going to get on my private jet, but you peasants need to go ahead and fund
you guys
the world
really
government.
need to chip in, you little
it's
people.
wait a second.
You little people.
It's all bull. It's all nonsense.
So now we got the pop culture stuff out of the way. Other than that,
I got more pop culture. I got something. Well, it's kind of pop culturally.
What do you got?
I'm excited, man. UFC 196, Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. These guys, I know you don't follow this stuff much.
I don't.
But
really
there's
don't.
this guy that's setting the world on fire. His name's Conor McGregor. He's an Irishman, and he's always talking trash. And, dude, he backs it up.
He's from Ireland?
Oh, dude.
I want him to win.
He's tough.
I want him to win. I'm voting party line on this one.
He's pretty tough. He's a good guy to want to win.
Those Irish, they like to get drunk and they like to fist fight.
That's this guy. This is your guy. Well, this guy's been
We're out of whiskey. No, those are fighting words.
Put up your dukes.
Oh, they're magically delicious. You got to do one of those.
Definitely. So this guy, here's the thing. They go, he trash talks. But here's the problem. He backs it up. He's right every time. The last fight he fought a guy, Jose Aldo, he goes, I'll knock him out in the first round. And everybody's like, yeah, right. One punch in, he knocks the guy out. And he keeps doing this over and over. So, but here's the big part of this guy's game is the head games. In the press conferences and stuff, he gets in the other fighter's head. He talks trash. I'm going to knock you out. And it works a lot. They got him up against this guy, Nate Diaz, who that stuff doesn't work on at all. This guy loves fight. And he's trash talking back. And if you can look at the clips on YouTube, it's just fantastic to see these guys.
So you're excited about this.
I'm
You're
so
gonna watch
excited,
it.
bro.
That's what happened. It's this Saturday?
It's Saturday night.
Yeah. That was Muhammad Ali, man. Muhammad Ali was the first big trash talking
that backed
world
it up.
champ. Oh yeah. But I guess it drove Sonny Liston crazy.
Well, it gets in the other guy's head.
Yeah, Sonny Liston didn't like it. You know who else I bet doesn't like the trash talking? Little Marco Rubio. Look at that. How about that segue? How about that segue? Seamless, baby.
He started trash talking. He never used to do it. Now he started it. Now he can't stop himself. He loves
see how
it.
delighted he was?
He's busted
How,
chops.
when you watch the clips from earlier on in the week when Marco Rubio started, when he first started with the con man thing, and the audience is like, oh, remember that show on MTV where all they did was the Yo Mama jokes?
Yeah.
And I love the Yo Mama joke.
I do too.
It was like that. Marco Rubio was like, and he's a con man, and this guy's he's about worth as much as a degree from Trump University. Oh,
can I get a one?
Look at his tiny hands. Oh,
all snap, homie.
Yeah, it was like being in an MTV Yo Mama.
It is just.
I was just waiting for that. I was waiting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's So stupid, it takes him 90 minutes to watch 60 Minutes. Oh! Donald Trump is so dumb, he can't make orange juice because it says concentrate. Oh! I was like really waiting for that. That would be awesome.
It's getting there.
It is. It is. So, hey, we had the big debate last night.
Yes.
That was tough. I didn't watch it live. I don't think you did.
No,
either.
I saw clips of it.
We were at a big Flipside taping down at Hermosa Beach Comedy.
That was fun.
That was a great time. That was a great time.
Yeah.
That's going to be 2 good episodes of television.
Yep. It's on.
Boom. Boom.
And you can...
What was your favorite joke from last night, Jason?
Man, I wrote half of them and I can't remember now. There was a couple of the picture this where you show a picture and then make fun of it that I thought was pretty funny. Like the giant wall picture. You show the Great Wall of China.
Oh.
You're like, nobody's ever built a wall, Michael. That's never been done.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. Bam, bam, bam. Boy, I'm telling you what, I had one ready to go,
Dude,
and I can't remember it now.
I'm still foggy from last night, man.
It's a lot. Two shows in one night. It's a lot of fun. If you get a chance, come down to a taping. We got 2 more episodes we're going to be filming in April. Come on down for that. So I came home last night and then watched the debate. You know, they show the clips, the best of, and I didn't see this moment. And I was doing a radio interview this afternoon, and the first thing that the radio guy in like Detroit was like, "Did you see the thing on Ted Cruz's lip?" And I'm like, "What? No, I didn't." He's like, "You didn't see the thing on Ted Cruz?" So then I looked it up, I Googled it, and I don't know what Ted Cruz is talking about. It was the freakiest thing. You know, like old guys at a buffet, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they'll have a piece of food on their lip or
like
their mustache,
spittle or something.
and you're like, does he not feel that? He doesn't see that big hunk of corn, or he doesn't. Then they get it. That happened to Ted Cruz last night.
But I don't know that it was food. It was weird.
It was food. I looked at it. It's like the Zapruder
But it was
film.
like jumping around all over his
That
lip.
was the creepiest part.
Ugh.
It like comes out of nowhere. It's like bloom, like it attaches to his lips like it came from another dimension. Then it's on his upper lip, and then it goes to his lower lip, and it jumps back up to his upper lip. He could have been.
And then he ate it.
Then
he ate it.
He could have solved all the world's problems.
And people
and
are like,
I had no idea what he's saying because, like, what's that thing on your lip?
Oh, I'm going to throw up, dude. That was gross.
I guess Donald Trump came back at Marco Rubio for the little hands thing.
Yeah, he said
no complaints so far.
If you know what I mean.
Oh, my Lord. We got to move on from that. We got to move on. That's... For me, and I can go pretty lowbrow with politics, but like, listen, let's not do that. We don't need that in politics.
Well, I mean, if that's what they're attacking him on, it's not gonna cut it. They need to stick with the issues and.
Well, they're out for blood. They're out for the other big event that happened yesterday, the big Mitt Romney speech.
Yeah,
that was crazy. I have never seen a group of people, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. After Super Tuesday, they're counting the votes and the delegates and blah 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 blah, and everybody's like, "How do we stop Trump? How do they stop him? It's like they're talking about King Kong. Like Donald Trump is just like climbing up the Empire State Building. He's got Chris Christie in his hand. He's heading to the top of the building. How do we stop Kong? Surely the planes can bring him down." And then they trot out Mitt Romney. They trot out Mitt Romney to give a speech just slamming Donald Trump. Did you see that?
I don't remember anybody asking Mitt Romney what he thinks about anything. That guy got laughed out of the election twice. Hey, where was all this anger and venom against Obama? You're going to hate on Trump?
That was a very, very popular
He's a
tweet
loser.
yesterday. That was a very popular tweet
What was
yesterday.
it?
Why didn't Mitt Romney fight like this when he was running
Seriously,
against Obama?
Obama, he folds like a chair and he's just like trying to be nice and everything. No, man.
Yeah. I just thought that was horrible. So then today is, CPAC's going on, the big conservative political action committee. It's going on. Yeah, CPAC is what we call it. And Donald Trump was supposed to speak.
And he said, no, he's not doing it.
He turned him down.
He's
like, can't make it. And
why is he doing this?
Here's the thing. Why is he doing this?
Is he mad at...
I think I would be mad because the establishment trotted out Mitt Romney and stabbed him in the back.
CPAC is the official...
I think CPAC is pretty much the big official big time.
So he's like, I'm not doing it. He doesn't need to. He's already smoking everybody.
It's like Julius Caesar going to the Senate and being stabbed, right? And then he somehow leaves. And then somebody the next day is like, come on back to the Senate.
Give a
and he's
speech.
like, I don't think I want to. They stab me when I go, no, come on. Are you chicken? Are you a chicken? And they're like literally mocking him. Like, oh, I guess he's afraid. Like, I don't think he has a lot of friends there. I don't think you people like him. I think that's evidence from Et tu Romney yesterday.
Yeah.
So good for him for not going.
He doesn't need
He's
to give
going
that
to
speech.
Kansas. He's going to Florida. He's going for the knockout punch. He's doing some. He's done. He's done. He's had it.
Yeah.
And they have a plan. They have a plan to bring him down. They do.
Oh, they've had.
They're going
all
to do it.
kinds
They're
of
going to do
plans.
it. They're going to do a contested convention. They're going to try to keep his delegate count low. Go to Cleveland this summer, and then all bets are off. And boy, oh boy,
I don't believe it's going to happen.
In a really weird way, I want it to happen. Just to see what the result is.
Oh,
it's like lighting a firecracker. You just light it, and then you get back to a safe distance. And you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen? And then boom, and then just there's.
Well, I'll tell you what'll happen. You'll get stuck with Ted Cruz.
Maybe.
I don't want it to happen. I don't think it should happen. I think if the people have spoken, they want Trump. They're sick of this politically correct, backbone
and then
stuff.
I can already hear them. They're talking math. Trump gets 38%. Ted Cruz gets 20. Marco Rubio gets 20. 20 and 20 makes 40. 40 is more than 36. And here's the argument that I can't stand hearing. If these other people weren't in the race, I'd be doing great. Like, shut up with that. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to use that in real life.
If I was in a race and everybody dropped out, I'd probably win.
If you're running track, you're running the 100-yard
If only
dash.
these other runners.
Hey, if these guys from Kenya weren't running, I'd be doing great. Guess what?
They're in the race.
They're in the race. You lost. Oh my
And then how do you
goodness.
know those votes are going to go to you?
Oh my goodness! It's just dang, another good idea. We're dinging and dinging and dinging and dinging. I want to go to CPAC. Someday. I didn't go this year. Obviously, we're filming 2 episodes of television. Next year, I want to go. I guess it's a yearly thing. It's real like inside baseball stuff, but I'm getting into it. I'm relatively new to the political thing. It really started. I mean, I've always been like a political guy, watching from the sidelines, watching from the sidelines. Then a year and a half ago, we start doing the flip side, this syndicated TV show, and then I start really paying attention. And here's the scary
job, yeah.
Right? And then when you really start paying attention, things get very scary. And there's jokes and there's observations that only people who are in on it get. So you have to be very, very careful. I don't want to be like one of these brainiacs. You see these political pundit brainiacs on MSNBC. Now,
You pronounced Scalia wrong.
Yes,
it's actually Scalia.
I'm not a big fan of this episode because you mispronounced the name of the Supreme Court justice in 1822.
So that means your whole podcast is terrible because you mispronounced one word.
I think everything that you've said from this point forward must be thrown out because in 1822 you failed to recognize that the evaluation doctrination was blah, blah, blah.
I mean, that's just boring and horrible stuff.
Right.
However, they had this dude on MSNBC. I cannot remember his name, but he was just telling Chris Matthews, here's how they're going to do it. And then here's how it works. And after the first ballot in a contested convention, they'll do this, and then they'll say that, and then they will give you another candidate. And it was just so blatant and so right out there. And Chris Matthews, God bless Chris Matthews.
You love Matthews.
More and more I do.
It surprises me. But
You know what the great thing about Chris Matthews? It's what I like about Chris Matthews is what I like about Bernie Sanders, is what I like about Donald Trump. I like somebody who is a straight shooter. Now, whether it's real or whether it's an act, maybe I'm an idiot and I'm being fooled. But Chris Matthews, listen, when Obama got elected, he was like, I'm getting a thrill up my leg.
Right.
He was excited. He didn't hide it. That's cool. I know who you are. We can still go out and have a beer together. We can still hang out, but you're not like I'd much rather know who the heck somebody is. And like, okay, that's who that person is, 110%, than some guy who's like, here's what you need to do, America. And then as soon as I leave the room, he's like, all right, he's gone. Let's change. I can't stand hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I can't stand
But that's
it.
that's like 99.9% of all politicians do that stuff,
Oh, it's for real.
Yeah.
It's for real. I can't remember what my point even was.
I don't remember what we're even talking about
I'm so
at this
off
point.
the track. I don't know, but it was wonderful.
It was awesome.
I don't want to be like an inside baseball guy. I don't want to be like one of these talking head, but if this guy was like just saying, here's how they're going to do it. Here's like, and it's just like, you know, and I'm horrible for the metaphors, and I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for. I haven't made up my mind yet who I'm voting for. However, when this many, I've never seen this many people be like, we have to stop this guy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like hyenas chasing down a lion in like a National Geographic thing. If we can get this hyena to bite him on the leg, then then this hyena says this, and it's really like Marco Rubio every time. Listen, here's a little tip to the Ted Cruz and the Marco Rubios and the John Kasichs and everybody else. Tell me what you're gonna do, right?
Yeah, stick to
the
issue.
Like seriously, like okay, you called Donald Trump a con man. You got in your hits. You called him a con man. You said he had little hands. That was awesome for one day of the news cycle. Now, what are you gonna do? Because the last time I checked, Donald Trump was like, okay, here's how I'm going to bring jobs back. Here's how these factories are going to be, you know. And economists are like, there's going to be a trade war. It's going to be ugly, but at least it's a plan. You know, here's how I'm going to keep this factory from moving to Mexico. I just don't hear, he's a con man, he's a con man, he's a con man. Okay, well, you better start conning me, dude. What is your plan?
Yeah.
It's so insanely negative. And Ted Cruz, all right, a lot of people love Ted Cruz. So I'm like, all right, I'll give this guy a look. And like all I hear from that guy is day 1, I'm going to rip this up. Day 2, I'm going to stop this. Day 3, I'm going to eliminate that. I'm like, hey, I know you're going to be ripping up a bunch of stuff and telling people no. What are you going to do? Like, and get those mom jeans off. I tell you what, that drives me crazy. That's a big pet peeve.
He cannot pull off the jean look.
Stop wearing blue jeans, politicians.
I'm one of you, Michael.
You're not allowed to do it.
Right.
You're not allowed to do it. I saw one picture of Ronald Reagan in blue jeans ever in my life, and that dude was also on the back of a horse
with a cowboy hat on.
Hat, and he was working on his ranch. That's when you're allowed to wear blue jeans.
I think that's God's way of warning you. Is when a politician puts on jeans, if it looks like mom jeans, that's God warning you that this guy is
that's
not...
great. That's great. Yeah. When a politician's wearing blue jeans, man, get out your fact checkers. Because, like, that's like phase 1 of lying. Years ago, me and my buddy, I was on this Jameson Irish whiskey comedy tour, and we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and there's this stage that like rock and roll like frontmen used to go through. You know, they start off just wearing like these really weird androgynous outfits, and then they start wearing jumpsuits, and then they start wearing capes, and then they die. Right? It's like as soon as you start wearing a cape, you're about to die. If you're in rock and roll, never wear a cape.
Ted Cruz wears a cape.
Well, for Ted Cruz's cape is the blue jeans. If a politician is wearing blue jeans, that's a big sign.
Yeah.
You're one step away from just the full-on cape of lies. And if you're gonna, they shouldn't even wear blue jeans at all. Here's the other one. They're mad about today, and this is just unbelievable. A couple debates ago, Donald Trump is like, they're talking about waterboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And torture, and Donald Trump flippantly said, because this guy talks before he thinks things through, he just flippantly says, if I'm president, we're going to do a lot worse than waterboarding. And everybody's like, rah, in the crowd, right? Because, yay, it's bombastic and blah, blah, blah. So then yesterday, they're like, are you still going to do worse stuff than waterboarding? And he's very wisely, he says, oh, no, you can't do that. Because there is international law, and like you don't want to like just... So, because he said now...
he's flip-flopping.
Yes!
Oh.
Yes!
No, maybe he actually researched it and put some thought into it.
People are mad. Oh, he flip-flopped on torture. Like, he can only win my vote back unless he starts pulling the fingernails out.
He used to be a Democrat. It's like, wait, well, I used to be a Democrat, and then I was a Republican. Now I'm nothing. Now I don't care what these maniacs do.
And so much of this is driving me crazy. It's just driving me crazy.
Why do we do a political podcast, really?
You know what I try to do? This is what I would want. This is what, like, if I was like just kind of mildly into politics, and like a couple comedians talking about politics, and we can talk about the stuff like. And here's what I think makes sense to the common man that has just like blown past all the brainiacs. I'm tired of the brainiacs. I'm so sick of the brainiacs that my head is about to explode. The brainiacs don't understand how is Bernie Sanders popular? He's popular with the young people. Hillary doesn't seem to be getting the young people excited. How is Bernie Sanders doing? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How did that... I don't know. He goes to college campuses and tells a bunch of kids who are in college and in debt up to their eyeball, I'm going to make college free. Yeah! You got my vote.
Right.
That's not... You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out. How's he doing well with young people? He's going to give them free college,
The same way communists
And they're
always...
like, well, if I have free college, my health care is going to kill me. That bill is huge. He's
Oh,
like,
that's
don't
free
worry about
too.
That's free too.
And a pony.
How's he doing so well?
Who wants a free car?
How's he doing? And I feel bad about this one. I've been talking about this on these radio interviews. I'm literally getting a headache. I think my head's going to explode. The people don't understand why Donald Trump is... They don't understand what he's doing. Now, the last time I checked, Donald Trump is a businessman. Now, as a stand-up comedian, right? You've done stand-up too.
A couple of times.
When you go to a comedy club, usually a comedy club says, this is how much we pay. And you go, okay, and you either take it or you leave it. Right? Now, when you're doing like a private party or something, it's a corporate gig, there's a little bit of negotiating that goes on. I believe that Donald Trump is negotiating because he's a business guy. And the first thing you do in negotiation, you don't say your number. You maybe do something very bombastic, right? Like I've had corporate guys go, well, how much for a show for my corporate retreat? And I'll be like, I can give you, I can do a lot of. I'm going to give you a great show. I can give you a $10,000 show, or I can give you $1 million show. It really, it's what's your budget? And then they go, okay. Then they say the first real number, right? So if you're negotiating something and let's say you want 6 rocks, it's rocks so you want 6 of them. You're not going to go, may I have 6 rocks, please? Because then the guy is going to, I can't give you 6 rocks.
I'll give you 3 rocks.
So here's what you do. I need 10 rocks.
I'll give you 6.
I can give you 8 rocks. Really? 8? Okay, let's say 8 rocks will do. So now you got 2 more rocks than you originally wanted. That's all Donald Trump's doing. It is not rocket science. We're gonna stop all this from happening. Okay, you can't do that. All right, well, we'll stop this from happening. You just walk it back a little bit. And they're all like, I don't understand what he's doing. You can't deport 11 million. No, you can't. Everyone on the planet knows you can't do it. If you tried to, do people realistically think he's going to dress up army men as Nazis and go from door to door knocking people's windows in and andale. No.
Right.
There would be riots and Americans won't stand for that. So you say that, and people go, that's great. All right, well, seriously, we got to take this immigration thing. We can't have any illegal. Oh, okay. Then that sounds rational.
All the guys,
then building a wall sounds actually rational.
All he wants to do is check people at the door. That's it. He doesn't want to stop immigration altogether. He just wants to check people. Because I heard this person on Facebook go, wow, people fly into the country all the time and they stay. They overstay their visas. Oh, so what's the big deal about... Yeah, well, here's the thing. They check in. They have to go. They check in when they fly in. These people are coming over the border. We don't know who the hell they are, where they come from. They're not checking in.
Well, here's the other thing. But to that point, I totally agree. They come here on these guest visas. They check in, and then they just skedaddle.
Right.
And no one knows where they are. And this is where it gets to a slippery slope. Okay, so I'm like a college student, and I'm from Egypt, and I'm way cool, and I'm awesome. So I come to America, and I check in. Now, how often do I have to check in with the police? Do I have to call every time I change locations? I was in Cincinnati yesterday. Today I'm in Dayton. Do I have to call? That's weird. I don't want to live in that society. I mean, it's America still, for Christ's sake. There's got to be freedom of movement. Is it once a week? Is it once a month?
You can't have an open border and just let whoever in, though.
Oh, I'm totally against that.
I
don't want people just crawling in from Canada and coming in from Mexico I want immigration. Lord knows, I'm the grandchild of immigrants, but they stood in line. I'm all for welcome to America, but there's a line.
And these people are screwing the people that are waiting in line and doing it legally. And then here's the other thing. There's something called the Cloward and Piven strategy, which is you have the border wide open.
Cloward and Piven, just really quickly, was also they were a comedy team.
I think they were
in the
folk,
1972
folk music.
I'm Cloward, I'm Piven, and now let's do our skit where we run the liquor store.
No,
Come on in.
These guys definitely were not comedians. They were Harvard professors that came up with this plan that the Democrats and apparently Republicans have adopted, where you just leave the border wide open. You let whoever come in. You flood the system with people that sign up for entitlements.
Okay.
And then you have more people that have entitlements than you do people actually working, and they vote all the rights away of the working class. It's the Cloward and Piven strategy to turn you into a communist nation.
You're sounding like Ann Coulter now.
I don't know that she talked about this.
Oh, I'm sure she did. We had Ann Coulter. I had her as a guest on the TV show, and that's her whole thing with her book Adios America.
They come in and they vote away our rights.
Yeah, there is, and this is not the first time I've heard about this. This is a hysterical episode. I'm just laughing like.
It doesn't all have to be funny, does it? I mean,
no, it doesn't. But there's a large people out there that's saying that like once the scales get tipped too much in one direction, that we will lose our democracy.
It's a real strategy. It's going on right now. There's an elite group of people that really run things above the president and all these politicians that look like they're in charge. They have certain plans to do things to this country and the world that are not good.
Okay,
and
I'm not there yet. I'm just thinking already in my brain, I'm like, they'll ruin our democracy, and there's some brainiac out there going, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. We are a republic. Well, we're supposed to be.
A democracy is, as Ben Franklin said, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
Boom.
That
bears
democracy
repeating.
Is
that
awful.
bears repeating. Do that one again. Who said that?
Ben Franklin said democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Ben Franklin. Was he a T-shirt guy? Because that should definitely be on a T-shirt.
I think he sold T-shirts after his comedy gigs with a key on it.
You know what I love about Ben Franklin? The beaver hat, man. That dude was awesome.
He was a pretty cool dude.
He went over to France.
He was a ladies' man.
Yes, he was. He went over to France to raise money to help. It's like, hey, French, help us out with the revolution. And they're like, we are kind of busy. We have our own thing going on, blah, blah, blah. But when he was over there, he was rocking like the bifocal thing and a beaver hat. And no one was wearing a beaver hat. Nobody except for Ben Franklin. And they're like, what is this on your head? There's a furry creature on your head. And he's like, it's a beaver hat. It's from America. And it's the bomb. And by the time he left, everybody was wearing beaver hats.
This is my beaver hat.
Yeah, I love it. John Adams shows up and he's like, this is just one giant party. People are wearing beaver hats. How's the war effort going? And Ben Franklin's like, dude, it goes slow. Just chill out, have some champagne. I'm working on it. It drove John Adams crazy how slow it was. But I love that Ben Franklin he just did his own thing. God bless that dude.
He was a cool dude.
Ben Franklin was also against the two-party system, like you were just saying. He's like, once you have two parties, it's done. And he based everything. We're supposed to have 50 states. This is what I love about America. And this is why we have the best shot. And it's why I think we do so well. If you have an idea for something, try it in your state. If you want
to make everybody do it,
right?
Because what works in Hawaii may not work in Alaska. So
as we go forward, and Ted Cruz is like, I'm going to rip up the Obamacare, and then Donald Trump is like, I'm going to figure out a better system for Obamacare, and I'm going to. No, how's it going in Massachusetts? Didn't they try free health care in Massachusetts? How are they doing?
If it's doing good, other states might want to do it. They might not.
That's what I'm saying.
They might have their own thing.
If a state can...
State rights.
Absolutely. If Illinois wants to try some crazy health care junk and give her... And they figure it out, awesome. Well, go for it.
Michael,
if it works, we'll all try it.
State rights are definitely diminishing by the minute. It's scary because the federal government's taking over everything, and they will try to run your life.
I'm going to write this down.
And tax you on every little thing you do.
I'm going to write this down, states' rights. Because you know what we should do next week on the Loftus Party? I want to do those crazy state laws.
Oh, I've read some really crazy ones.
Right? Like, to this day, it's like, if you have a man may not have more than 2 chickens within sight of the church steeple in Alabama.
That's a stupid law.
Right?
If I want 4 chickens or 5 chickens,
a three-legged dog may not eat a pie on the Thursday.
I love those old, and they're like still on the books.
A cracked bell may not be rung on Friday.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ones. There's like 23 states where it's legal to make love to a horse. Like, what is that?
That can't be right.
That's a real thing.
That can't be right.
The weirdest law in every state.
The weirdest law in every state. Find me one real quick, and then we're gonna do some Michael Topias.
All right, Alabama.
Alabama. Oh, you go straight to the south.
Well, okay.
Straight to the south. Way to go.
Somewhere else.
Way to go.
In Arizona, even though they love it, you can't feed pigs garbage unless you have a special permit. Only that needs to be renewed each January, so you really think hard about how much you want to give that
Wait,
hog your
you have to
newspaper.
renew that in January?
You missed the deadline.
Oh, man! Every year. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to feed my pigs.
In Arkansas, mispronouncing the state name is strictly forbidden, so leave your grandma on her fancy Arkansas's. Well, in Arkansas, a lot of people are mispronouncing all kinds of stuff, so that's a crazy place to have that law.
Come on, give me a new one.
Look, California.
In California, once upon a time, it was legal to shoot and kill someone just because they were Chinese. As late as like 1880. That's how.
Wow.
Yeah, you're from China. Bang, and then you just take his
But
stuff.
I'm Japanese.
And ooh, I'm out of here.
Sorry. In California, you can have a frog jumping contest, but if a frog dies, you cannot eat them. It is forbidden by law. Figure that one out.
Okay. That's a weird. Now? Why is that a law?
I have no idea.
Dude, was there a frog jumping contest once upon a time, and a frog died, and some guys, I'm gonna eat this, and like Betsy Newberhausen is like, no, don't, and he's like, it's a dead frog. I like frog. Don't do it. My husband is a senator. I will pass a law. They passed a law for that. No, definitely politicians don't waste time. They don't waste time. They don't waste money. Hey, how are we? Enough of that renewable energy. Where do we stand on that frog bill? Where are we going to do that? When are we going to do something about the frog legs? Take your solar panels, shut up, and wait your turn.
Well,
where are we? Take a vote on the frogs.
These frogs are ruining everything. In Illinois, taking a nap in a cheese factory, a bake shop, confectionery, or creamery is illegal under the Illinois Sanitary Food Preparation Act.
You cannot take a nap. In a what factory?
A cheese.
Can't take a nap in a cheese factory
or a bake shop.
What the hell?
Or a creamery.
What happened?
I don't know.
At some point, something so horrifying. Wait, at a cheese factory? There's three, right?
A bake shop,
cheese bakery,
creamery,
or a creamery. Okay. So here's what happened.
Explain this one.
Once upon a time, a guy fell asleep at a cheese factory. Something horrifying happened.
What?
I don't know. People died. The cheese turned into pure poison.
He forgot to turn the machine off, and the cheese.
So it was bad. And they get to the root, and they're like, Jerry, what happened? And he's like, I'll be honest, I fell asleep.
We need to make a law about this.
We should make a law. It is illegal to fall asleep at a cheese factory. Meanwhile, across town at the bakery, a guy falls asleep, creating more death and destruction, so they have to go and amend the law. All right, at cheese factories and at bakeries.
In Indiana, you cannot catch a fish with your bare hands. It is illegal.
Wow.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the whole segment next week. We got to do Michael Topias. We have to do Michael Topias. We're getting longer and longer every week.
In Louisiana, insulting or abusive remarks are forbidden at any boxing match.
You're just allowed to hit people with your hands.
You can punch
them. You're not allowed to talk smack.
Don't hurt their feelings, though.
Hey, I'm going to clobber you. Hey, let's watch the language. I want a good, clean fight. Kill him. Kill him with your bare hands, but don't say anything.
Dude, it goes on and on.
That's a whole segment next week. It's a whole segment next week. I love it. I hope you got some Michael Topias because I'm playing the music.
In New Jersey, wearing a bulletproof vest.
I am playing the music.
Oh, damn it, I've got more.
For Michael Topia.
All right.
Read it into a Michael Topia. You can live anywhere you want. You can live out where things are crazy, or you live in my brain where things make sense. Michael Topia. Join me, won't you? Oh, yeah. What do you got?
In the state of New Jersey, wearing a bulletproof vest while committing or attempting to commit murder is an offense. Because New Jersey cares more about making this a fair fight than the actual, murder.
Oh, wow.
This is all
I don't know if that's a Michael Topia.
No, here's my Michael Topia.
Do a Michael Topia on that. In Michael Topia, it's not. Here's it.
If I'm
in Michael Topia, it's not illegal to wear a bulletproof vest
in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, while committing murder. Like, is that just because you had bonus points? It's like, you killed that person, and they really didn't have a chance to shoot you.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
Murder's okay, but just don't stack the odds in your own favor. All right, another Michaeltopia. Go.
Okay, stop accusing people of hating the poor every time they disagree with you on something. Holy moly. I get in arguments with people. You're a libertarian? You're conservative? Oh, I guess you hate poor people. No, I want to keep the money I earned, and I think if you want to take a couple of bucks to help poor people, but there's a lot of cuts we can make before we get to poor people. The government wastes so much money. It's unbelievable. There's cut after cut after cut we can make. Who's even talking about the poor people? This is how Democrats twist things to give them this false moral superiority, and meanwhile, they're the ones destroying the poor, keeping them there because they need them dependent for votes. So no more accusing me of hating poor people.
That's a very long Michaeltopia.
And furthermore, I don't have it.
That's a Michaeltopia filibuster.
I know that,
but it's a very nice segue to mine. In Michaeltopia, there is no Department of Energy. I looked up the Department of Energy. $30 billion a year we spend on the Department of Energy. And one of their jobs is to clean up nuclear waste. Okay, now if we're talking about nuclear waste and making that safe for the environment, wouldn't that be the job of the EPA? Don't we already have people to do that? If you're protecting the environment, it's the job of the EPA. It's not the Energy Department. The other thing they do is they oversee loans for new technologies and blah 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 blah.
What is that?
I think the free market will take care of the loans. I think if I want a loan, I'll go to a bank. I won't go to the Energy Department.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's crazy. We don't need them. They were born in 1970 and they died in 2016. There, America, I just saved you $30 billion a year. Boom. I got another one, locked and loaded. You got one?
Yeah. Don't talk about politics at Starbucks. Kid at Starbucks today.
In Michaeltopia, we don't talk about politics at Starbucks.
Right.
You got to do it like a Michaeltopia. You got to ramp it up, buddy.
Okay. This guy at Starbucks today is talking to the kid behind the counter. I have Obama stickers on my car from both elections. Do you think my car's safe outside? The guy goes, yeah, this is a pretty liberal area. You should be all right. Good, because you know what? When Prop 8 was up, I went around, me and my friends, we tore bumper stickers off cars and we threw away people's house signs. And I look at the kid and I go, wait, dude, aren't you a Democrat? He goes, yeah. I go, aren't you supposed to be open-minded and tolerant? Not when it comes to intolerance. I'm intolerant of intolerance.
Yeah.
I go, wait a second.
That is the craziest
thing. So
you
can vandalize and be intolerant.
Yes,
and
because
step on free speech.
Because it's a righteous anger.
Yeah, these Democrats are cuckoo.
That's a good one. I hope you wrote that one down.
I can't stand these Democrats. I really can't stand them. I really hate them.
In Michaeltopia, we don't lump all people under one little banner. In Michaeltopia, we don't say things like, I can't stand all these Democrats.
Well, hey, to be fair, I'm not crazy about the Republicans either. I want small government.
You just did it again.
Well,
you didn't help yourself.
Yes, let me talk about these Republicans.
Here goes mine. Go
ahead.
mine. In Michaeltopia, parents don't take their children to R-rated movies.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And then act shocked when the movie is a little... I remember when South Park came out, bigger, longer, uncut.
Yeah, that's great.
And I saw some dad come in with his, like,
But Michael, it's a cartoon.
6-year-old daughter. I'm like, hey, dude, it's rated R. There's literally going to be visual jokes that I don't think you want little Cindy Lou to see.
Oh, yeah.
They left about halfway through, and the guy was freaking out. I'm like, what did you expect, Brainiac?
We have a rating system. I went to see Deadpool, which was amazing, by the way. And there's guys with little kids. And, I mean, this movie's heavy. There's stuff in that movie you don't want a kid to see. But I'm like, you didn't see the R-rated? Like, how stupid are you? But it's a superhero. You're dumb. You're just too dumb.
You are dumb. In Michaeltopia, the Loftus Party podcast ends close to on time.
I got one more.
Okay.
In Michaeltopia, Republicans will not keep saying how they want small government and then defending politicians who make the government bigger and crazier. I see it all the time. They did it with Bush.
That's part of the anger, bro.
The Patriot
part of the
Act.
anger, bro, Ham.
Well, I'm angry.
You got a great point, but I tell you what, we got to write that down for next week.
All right.
I want to tell you what. I want to thank people for listening to the podcast and the show, the whole thing. It's fantastic. You got to go to Flipside Loftus. That's
Flipside Loftus.
That's right. That's the Twitter. Find us on Facebook.
Yep.
That's a great site. And the YouTube
We're
channel.
on YouTube.
Oh, the YouTube channel.
We've got a lot of stuff.
That's getting exciting now.
Hey, and if you enjoy the show, if you like the show, please get on iTunes and give us some love. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a nice comment. It'll mean a lot to me. It'll mean a lot to Loftus.
It's part of the man versus computer war.
It is.
You only get love if you can beat the algorithm. I'm finding this out. And the algorithm is you need those stars. You need those stars. So
And
God bless you for clicking on those.
Don't forget to listen to the Road to Ruin podcast, where my guests this week is going to be Michael Loftus, hopefully, if I can talk him into it. It's another good podcast. There it is.